this is working.
Andrew Leonard here alongside Peter Della Penna. It is the grand final day. It all comes down to this. Sadly, this morning's game washed out. Probably the right decision, but disappointment for Panama and the Cayman Islands.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate end to their tournament, but it's amazing that we're actually going to get potentially a match here today, considering how much rain came down through Tropical Storm Philippe over the last 36, 48 hours. Just shows what a quality facility it is. A lot of other facilities around the region and around the world, you would never even contemplate having a match start here, but we're just moments away from a very exciting finale to this tournament.
We really hope we're moments away. We already have a delayed toss, but we've got 38 minutes of reserve time, the 30 that the playing conditions allow, and then the 8 that they can make up in between the innings. If we were to have a shortened game, I'm not saying we do yet, which side may that favour?
I think a reduced overs match will play into Bermuda's hands quite significantly, because you look at the depth that they have compared to Canada, it's just not the same. They're heavily reliant on Delray Rollins and Kamau Everitt, and to a lesser extent Trey Manders and Alan Douglas Jr., but Canada has a lot more depth top to bottom. You reduce that match to 10 overs, 5 overs, however many overs it's reduced as, and the way that Kamau Everitt has played and the way that Delray Rollins has performed, outside of them, Bermuda has struggled for contributions batting-wise, so I think that would definitely help Bermuda out and potentially lock up a spot in the T20 World Cup for them next year in the USA and the West Indies.
What about the conditions, Peter? You can probably actually hear it through our microphones. There was a reason this was a tropical storm and it verged towards a hurricane. They've got to be, 25, 30 mile an hour winds. Hopefully that rain, you can see it probably far in the distance here, that's going to blow past, which should allow us to start at around 3, maybe 10 past 3.
Just a gentle breeze, Lenny. Oh, the wind is howling here. There's stuff falling around all over the place. You look around at the umbrellas and the tents that people have set up. They've got the umbrellas and the tents nailed very low to the ground, because otherwise they're going to blow away in the wind. It's extraordinary conditions here. Once the match gets underway, we could see it play havoc with the fielders in particular. Anything that goes skied up in the air for a chance, nothing is guaranteed to go to hand.
Yeah, it's going to make the playing conditions for both sides, particularly in the field, but also in terms of where the batters are going to choose to hit and exactly what the bowlers will do, which ends they'll bowl from. Let's just have a quick word about the tournament, Peter. It's been outstandingly run in the eye of this tropical storm. The first 4 days, we got every ball bowled, really, really competitive, beautiful facilities, a beautiful island too. It would be a shame not to see it to a natural conclusion. And surely Bermuda, even themselves, they want to finish out properly and beat Canada twice to qualify for a first T20 World Cup.
No, there's definitely some conversations that have been going on about how, if the match gets rained out, Bermuda will sneak in, and that's not fair to Canada. You talk to the locals here, though, they're just as eager to play as Canada is. They don't want any conversations. They want to shut those people up who are saying, Bermuda's potentially going to sneak into the World Cup. They want to leave no doubt that they're the better team than Canada, and we could find out in just a short time.
Okay, we're going to put Peter Della Penna on the spot. One word only. You never keep anything that short. Who's going to qualify for the T20 World Cup if we get play, Bermuda or Canada?
Bongi goes boom, Bermuda.
Okay, didn't quite do it in one word. The great thing about finals day, though, is Peter Della Penna is back in Bermuda. We've got all of the BCB's key supporters in, all for this grand final. Let's go and chat to a few of them. Continuing the build-up for the grand final here, and we're chatting to some of the Bermuda Cricket Board's key partners. I've now got Jamila Lodge from the Bermuda Economic Development Corporation alongside me. Again, another one of the BCB's sponsors. Tell us about that partnership with them.
So we were really excited to see this happening in our own island. We were definitely wanting to support BCB. We think it's very important to be able to showcase what we have on offer in Bermuda. And BEDC, we always want to support our small businesses and our entrepreneurs, and we consider Cal Blakendale one of them. So certainly we're definitely interested in continuing this partnership, because we're hopeful that Bermuda could take it all the way. And that gives us the opportunity to have international recognition as well.
Tell us a little bit about the history of the island in terms of from the business side. Originally, maybe very focused on tourism, but the 80s, 90s onwards, a big move towards international business.
Well, definitely, sure. But BEDCs, from our perspective, we support local entrepreneurs, and that could be a range of businesses, right? So we consider the entrepreneurial ecosystem extremely important to Bermuda, in addition to international business. So our primary objective as the BEDC is to support the development of a local entrepreneurial ecosystem. So that's individuals like Cal starting a business, starting a charity that can go out and support the community at large, because we feel that local business is the backbone of any economy. And so with BEDC supporting this event and other events like it, we get a chance to showcase that and to support entrepreneurship at a grassroots level.
It's such a small island. It's such a beautiful one, about 65,000 people.
That's right.
Kind of strategically positioned between Europe and the United States. That must give you some advantages.
It definitely does. And from our perspective, what we try to encourage is for the businesses that we support is to consider that strategic location and use it as a catalyst that they can expand whatever products or services that they're offering. So that is the message that we try to put. That's why we like to participate in international events, to show our stakeholders that the opportunity is there for them to expand their product offering outside of Bermuda.
Okay, finally, on the cricket front, just how big is this? We know the whole island's talking about it.
It is.
For Bermuda to qualify for a T20 World Cup for the first time, what would it be like?
That's a big deal, and we are full on board with support. We are cheering our team on, and we're hopeful that they'll be able to take it all the way. It's a big deal for us.
Okay, I want to wish you all the best, and thank you so much for the support. That's Jamila from the B. So it's grand final day here at the ICC Men's T20 World Cup, America's qualifier. We're still waiting for that final match that's going to decide the T20 World Cup spot. So in the time we've got time to chat to one of the Bermuda Cricket Board supporters. I've got Tracy Burgess here, who's from Keep Bermuda Beautiful. Firstly, Tracy, tell me about how beautiful this island is.
Well, Bermuda is just naturally beautiful. We're surrounded by 21 square miles of nothing but pristine turquoise waters and pink sand beaches, and it really is a haven for those of us who live here as well as for our visitors.
Tell me about your organisation then. Firstly, how you're keeping Bermuda clean and beautiful, and how important that is as well.
Absolutely. So Keep Bermuda Beautiful's mission is to reduce waste, eliminate litter, and beautify the island. And we do that through action and through education. So we have several different cleanup activities, programs, and community outreach initiatives, as well as a number of education programs where we connect with school children all across the island from about age 4 and up. And then we have adult education and awareness campaigns and engagement activities that we do as well.
Yeah, get them young, you'll always get them. You've got a partnership with the Bermuda Cricket Board as well. How important is that to you?
We do, and it's hugely important. This partnership with BCB is actually supported by Aspen Bermuda. So they've come on board as the sustainability partner for the ICC T20 that we're here for the finals today, if it ever kicks off. So what we're doing is we've partnered with the Bermuda Cricket Board to really focus on a green events waste management plan for this tournament, and it is the first partnership of its kind. So we've got all the trash and recycling bins all around the field. We've got public messaging that's going out all across Bermuda, as well as here at the stadium and at the other field, White Hill, where they've been playing the tournaments all week.
Just finally, Bermuda on the cusp of what would be a first ever T20 World Cup appearance. How brilliant would that be for the island on the whole?
Brilliant is an understatement, and you see I'm wearing blue. I have a pink flag with me. You can't see it on TV at the moment, but yeah, we're definitely cheering for the hometown team, and Bermuda all the way.
Okay, that's Tracy Burgess. Lovely chatting to her. Best of luck for Bermuda if we can get going soon.
There you have it from Andrew Leonard with a couple special guests ahead of the most important match of the tournament, the last match of the tournament here at the National Sports Center in Bermuda. And after a 45-minute delay to the start of play, we just had the toss out in the middle moments ago with Andrew Leonard. Let's see what happened.
So time for the toss here, the ICC Men's T20 World Cup, America's final. It's all on the line. The winners today will go to the T20 World Cup between the host Bermuda and Canada. I've got Delray Rawlins, the captain of Bermuda, joined by Sad Bin Safari, the captain of Canada, and Mr. Rion King. Great work by you and your team. Rion, thank you so much. Delray, you've got the coin. Please give it a toss.
Tails call.
Tails is the call. It is a tail.
We're gonna bat.
Sad, you've won the toss. What are you going to do and why?
We're gonna bat first. Just a pressure game. If we put runs on the board, it's always difficult to chase. So we're gonna try to extract that out of it.
How much are these conditions going to play into today's game? We've had a tropical storm, but we're ready to go.
Yeah, for us, we wanted to get a game on, and that's our chance. Basically, the winner takes the World Cup spot. So it's important for us to play the game rather than looking into the conditions. We're just gonna make the best use of the conditions and give our best try.
Okay, finally, team news for me today. Any changes?
One change: Shahid Ahmedzai goes out. Jeremy Gordon comes back in.
Okay, mate, best of luck. That's Sad Bin Safar winning the toss, choosing to bat first. Delray, what would you have done, mate?
Yeah, we would have had a bet as well. Yeah, we played on this wicket a couple of times, so we're pretty familiar with it, but we're not too fussed about bowling first.
How's the preparations been? It must have been difficult not knowing whether you're going to get on or not.
Nah, we've always prepared to play. You know, it's hard when you got the weather around, but no, we've always said to the boys, make sure you're prepared to play, and yeah, we've pretty much got a full T20. So.
How big is this, not just for you and your team, but for the island indeed, a chance at a first ever T20 World Cup?
Yeah, it's huge. Obviously, you know, everyone knows what's at stake. I mean, I think you'll see it from the fans today. I think it'll be a lot of passion, a lot of noise, and yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Okay, finally, any team news, please?
Yeah, one change. CJ Alderbridge comes back in for McKeel.
Okay, mate, best of luck. That is the news from the toss. Canada, they've won the toss. They're going to make first use of this wicket, and they're going to bat first.
There you have it. Canada winning the toss and choosing to bat first in a match that's been reduced to 18 overs aside. Quite remarkable considering where we were this morning, where we didn't think the prospect of play was possible for anything today. So the fact that Canada and Bermuda are about to square off for any match, reduced or full, it's quite remarkable. So credit goes to ground staff led by Alan Douglas Sr. to get this ground ready. The outfield is in pristine condition. It was just a matter of getting the pitch ready to go. Reminder that Bermuda cruised past Canada in the first matchup between these two sides on the opening day of the tournament. Behind half centuries from man on screen there, Delray Rollins, the Bermuda captain, as well as Kamel Levrock, put Bermuda on course for a massive victory. And they're out here today, Lenny, to show the world that it was no fluke.
Yeah, spot on, Peter. And look, I think every single person involved in Bermudian and Canadian cricket would both want this to come to a natural conclusion. Although that 82-run victory earlier in the week rightly has Bermuda at the top of the table, you would suspect they'd like to get there in the correct way. So let's take a look at the points table. We'll see if we can bring that up for you now. Should just be up in a matter of moments. The net run rate scenario means that if Canada were to take a win, and we've had this cross-check, Peter, as well, haven't we? Any win of any kind, whether by one run or off the final ball, that's going to be enough to keep them ahead on net run rate. The gap is such that even the smallest of wins wouldn't pull the other side back down towards zero enough. It's a massive gap, isn't it? Best part of a full net run rate point. That's Canada. Credit to them, Peter, the way they played themselves back into contention with those victories over the Cayman Islands and Panama.
Yeah, that opening day was the wake-up call they needed. Ever since then, they've been steamrolling both Cayman Islands and Panama. And it's put them in a position where they could get into the World Cup without anything special required equation-wise. As take a look at the 11s, Canada making one change as Shahid Ahmadzai comes out in a straight swap for Jeremy Gordon, who was just rested the other day to give him a little bit of extra breather. The fast bowler, get some extra energy coming into this contest. And then on the Bermuda side, the one change, Makeel Walker, who made his debut the other day, he is shuttled back onto the taxi squad on the bench in favor of CJ Atterbridge, the left armor. So it's basically the preferred lineups for both of these sides that they've used throughout the event. One change from the first match for Canada, though. Dylan Haliger did not appear in that opening contest, and he has made a tremendous impact.
Huge.
Both with the bat and the ball, but especially with the bat, I'd argue, as a finisher. And you wonder what kind of impact he could make today after the way he's coming to the squad after that opening day loss.
Yeah, both sides ready to go. There's the opening batters for Canada. Aaron Johnson, who's had another prolific tournament, increasing his hot start to his international career, joined by Navneet Dhaliwal. And just behind them, if we can maybe get a look to the left, you should be able to see the Bermuda side undergoing their final team huddle. There they are. And right now, it all comes down to this, Peter. We have had 8 completed matches. This will be the 9th. Did have the one. Bermuda, you put your neck on the line, Peter. You think that Bermuda are going to do it despite being the lower ranked side, and that 12th player will have a huge amount to do with it if Bermuda can get over the line. Can they ride their home fans to a second victory in their history over Canada and a first ever T20 World Cup appearance?
Well, the fans are out in full force today. This is by far the biggest crowd of the week. We had some tremendous crowd support at Somerset Bridge on the first weekend of the tournament, but nothing like this, Lenny. This is a grand occasion, a fitting crowd for the tournament final. There's got to be at least 500 fans in here for the first ball, and considering how things looked this morning, that makes it all the more remarkable. Not just that we're going to get a match in here, but for so many fans to come out to support this contest in spite of the tropical weather system that passed through here. It's fantastic to see.
Yeah, I think brilliant work. Credit to everyone involved in the BCB in particular for pulling this off, and it's a very colourful crowd. Those pink jerseys have been pretty relentless in their sales. Peter, we've spoken at length about Aaron Johnson's start to international cricket, but it's a very much feast or famine start. If Bermuda are going to get into this game early, they have to get Johnson before he gets to double figures. Otherwise, he tends to go large. And we're all set for the start. Outerbridge to Johnson. And he starts right on the money.
Aaron Johnson, we've talked about it throughout this tournament. It's all or nothing for him, basically. This is his 12th match in T20I cricket, 574 runs and an average of 63.77, just astronomical numbers. 6 out of his 11 innings have been 50-plus scores. He's got 2 centuries and 4 half-centuries.
Big appeal, and given not out. CJ Outerbridge cannot believe it. The 2 standing umpires today, that's Vijay Mallela, who's in the hot seat, alongside Jacqueline Williams, who's at square leg. It's so windy. You do not envy the umpires' jobs today, Peter. This was a big appeal.
I didn't hear a noise live. That's bat on ground. You could see a definite divot come out of the pitch there. There was a noise, but you could see on the video evidence there that the bat definitely scuffed into the ground. But Johnson, to finish up the point, 6 50-plus scores in 11 innings. His scores in his career, the 121 not out that he made against Panama 4 days ago, 109 not out against Oman last November, 89 against Oman again last November, 84 against Saudi Arabia, 68 against Oman, 51 against Bahrain, 47 against Cayman Islands at Somerset Bridge on October 1st.
Thuds into the pad, full and straight, and oh, how close is this? Is Vijaya Mallela indicating that that's going to miss the off stump? So many parts of that look so good, Peter.
You got to get everything right here. It's got to pitch in line. It's got to come back in. Straighten with the angle. Yeah, you've got 6 50-plus scores and then a 47 against Cayman Islands on October 1st. But then it's other scores in international cricket. 3 against Cayman Islands here at the stadium 3 days ago. 1 against Saudi Arabia. 1 against Bermuda in the opening contest of this tournament. And a not against Bahrain. Here's the LBW shout. No, we're not straight on, but there's some doubt. Did that pitch outside leg stump? Was it in line?
And this time it's going to be runs. The first runs off the bat, indeed, the first runs of this grand finale. It's going to be a 4. I'm not sure whether the slide was needed, whether it was actually going to have the momentum to get to the rope or not. But Johnson, we've seen him make use of a life or maybe 2 lives earlier in the tournament. Maybe he's had one there in the first, and rather than it being a maiden or a wicket maiden, 4 have come from the first over. It's 4 for none.
Yeah, kind of a bizarre decision here. The fielder running back out from point. Alan Douglas Jr. That ball did not look like it was going to touch the rope. And he may have arguably turned 2 runs into 4 for Canada just by sliding into the rope. Alan Douglas Jr.
Well, that's just the adrenaline, isn't it? The adrenaline coursing through the veins of both players. They know how much is on the line here. We heard how eloquently Delray Rowland spoke about it at the toss. He said they're ready to play. They knew that they would get something in eventually. Prizes don't come much bigger as Kamau Leverock. Definitely, you'd have to say, Peter, has been one of the players of the tournament. He takes the new ball from the ocean end of the ground, bowling into a stiff breeze.
Yeah, he's been truly outstanding. Leverock in this qualifier. He's had a couple of half centuries. Fell just short of a century. Leading scorer coming into today with 190 runs.
Smashed away. That's hitting with the wind, and really 4 from the moment it left the bat. Not easy bowling into the wind. Leverock probably looking for the York or something. He's already picked a wicket up with at the start of the tournament in his first over. Maybe he's indicating that he slipped a touch too on the damp surface. And it turns into a low full toss, and Dhaliwal pumps it away for 4.
It looks like Jacqueline Williams has asked for heavy bails, I believe, or they're just taking the bails off altogether. I don't see any bails on the stumps, Lenny, so this is, again, an unusual situation where she's asked for heavy bails, I believe, to put on the stumps, because that's just how incredibly windy it is here today.
They're darker as well, Peter. They're a little bit of a optical illusion. They're definitely on at both ends. Rushes Dhaliwal for pace. Peter, the fact that we've got play and the fact that it's almost as good as a full T20I. Here's a look at the 4. Just too much on it from Leverock. But the fact we've got 18 overs per side in almost a full T20I, great to see. And big lines at the concession stands, at the places to get a drink. We're in for a festival occasion. But Bermuda, they need an early wicket just to spark those fans into life. Deliveries like that are not going to help. Should be a boundary. Again, hitting with the wind, even though it's along the ground. Races across the outfield. 2 for Dhaliwal. 8 from the over already.
He's just struggling to get his length right. Full toss, a couple overs ago, and now half volley in the slot outside off stump, pumped away by Dalibal, who comes into today as Canada's leading scorers in T20Is by some distance. .819 runs, and this is 27th innings for Canada coming into today. So now he's up to 828 with the 9 runs in that over. And there's still 1 ball to go for Aaron Johnson to face. Dalibal's average coming into today, 39, with a strike rate of 133.17 and 6 half centuries. You can see how beautiful the waters are and how calm the waters are. They were a lot choppier. I was asking one of the taxi drivers yesterday, do people surf in Hawaii, Lenny? Because those waters yesterday off the coastline, they looked incredibly
in Hawaii,
choppy.
Peter, we're in Bermuda. We're not in Hawaii.
You could have brought your surfboard out there yesterday, Lenny.
What are you talking about Hawaii?
The way the
Peter,
waves are.
You've had too much sleep. You've not had enough. The white horses are up, certainly off the shore of Bermuda.
You could have. They had some Mavericks out there. It was like Half Moon Bay out in Northern California, Lenny. The way the waves were crashing.
It's the Pacific Ocean surrounding Hawaii, Atlantic here in Bermuda. Come on, Peter. I want to give a big shout out to our camera team, braving it out in these windy conditions. They were actually the ones. They're up there without cover, Peter. Mosum and Madvi. Who else is up there?
Mazum
as well.
Triple M crew.
The Triple M's. Yeah, credit to the boys and girls. Outstanding from them to be up there. I'm bringing you these pictures live just outside Hamilton, the capital city here of Bermuda. A big day for the island. We heard it on the news reports, the radio station, the national TV station too. Everyone is living this game today. Big crowd in place, the rest watching live on ICC.tv, and it's all to play for. Straight drive, just half a hand. They're going to take on the fielder, and I think it's Brangman who can't pick up cleanly. Were he able to pick that up cleanly, surely this would have been a run out in the first wicket. Another half chance for Bermuda.
Bermuda just looks a bit nervous, perhaps, in the field. Charles Trott was the fielder, and we'll try and get a look at the replay later.
Again, Johnson looks all at sea early in his innings, and Outerbridge now comes down for a word or two as well. Yeah, you're spot on. It was Charles Trott, not the other left-hander. But it was to his stronger side, Peter. If he could have picked that up cleanly, probably just an underarm at the stumps at all as it was needed. Johnson definitely something of a slow starter, you feel?
Well, we saw on his century the other day, he was 14 off of 21 balls, and then he exploded after the rain break. So it just takes a little bit of time to get set, but then if he does, watch out.
Outerbridge looks to have a much better rhythm today. He was outstanding in that reverse fixture between these two that started the tournament, picking up a wicket after 5 years out of the international game almost immediately. It might have actually been his first delivery. And since then, he's just gone off the boil a little bit, so much so that he was left out. He decided to give McKeel Walker a debut, but he's back in today and he's bowling with a much better rhythm than he did in his subsequent appearances in the competition. Left armers critical for all teams. Get to the end of that third over. The score 16 for none. Just a reminder, 18 overs per side. The amended playing conditions will mean that we will have 5 overs of power play rather than 6. And then the only other adjustment is that 2 of the 5 bowlers that both sides at a minimum will have to use, they'll only be able to use 3 overs each at a maximum. So 4-4-4 for 3 of the bowlers, then 3 and 3. 18 overs per side in total. Leverock will continue into Daliwell. Peter, hard to talk about projected scores yet. We're just getting a sense as to how the surface is going to play, but the wickets on the whole have been pretty good here. Bermuda will want to keep Canada under 140, something in that region.
Well, they're miles better than they were 4 years ago. Know that much. And it's all about scoreboard pressure here. Canada can put 160, 170. That might be too far for Bermuda to chase. And after struggling early, Bermuda looks to be settling down a bit in the field. They still haven't really given anything for the crowd to cheer about just yet. You can feel the tension in the air. They're just waiting to explode and erupt, to roar for a wicket to fall. The crowd keeps growing here. There's still a steady stream of people coming through the gates. We're going to get at least 1,000 here by the time this match is through.
Cut away, but there is no protection out there. The conditions are a huge factor today, Peter. This is as strong a breeze as I can remember that I've seen international cricket played in. And if you're watching on at home and you're wondering which way that breeze is going, as you look from behind the bowler here, it's going from leg to off, so from the right-hand side to the left-hand side, but also a little bit on the diagonals, so sort of almost over a wide long off region, exactly towards there. So that's hitting with the wind, and as soon as you get it up into the sky, it's always going to be 6. That's the power that Johnson possesses, and the bad news for Bermuda is he's got to double figures. He's got past that little nervy period at the start, and now he's going to start to unleash.
We've got a delay here for a lost ball, hit into Warwick Recreation Ground. And Jermaine Lindo might be kept pretty busy today, Lenny. The way this wind is blowing, that's a consistent 30 to 40 mile an hour wind blowing out in that direction. And that ball is going to sail out. Anytime you get it up in the wind, the official reading that we're getting is, quote, quote, 32 miles an hour on the broadcast, but the wind's much stronger than that. All you have to do is look at how many people have reinforced their tents to try and tie down the stakes to make sure they don't blow away. We saw some umbrellas blowing across the outfield before the start of play. If you don't have anything tied down, it's going to take off, and that cricket ball is going to take off too. Just sailing high over the fence towards Warwick Recreation Ground. You can see the tent top blown away there. I have no doubt that's not going to be the only one today.
Edged, and edged just wide of the slip fielder, and deep third is reasonably wide, so there is no slip in place. It's wide of the keeper, Sinclair Smith. And deep third, CJ Outerbridge going to his stronger side, can't cut it off. Convincing the ball before, and then again, fortune for Aaron Johnson.
If they had Delbert Rollins in at slip, he'd been in there for most of the early part of play. He's taken himself out, and I wonder if the captain's going to regret that. Placed himself in extra cover. That would have been a straightforward catch. Instead, Johnson moves to 15.
Beats the outside edge this time to close out an 11-run over with that salvo from Aaron Johnson. Just one remains in the power play. Remember, we're shortened 18 overs per side clash. It's 27 for none.
Thank you.
Yeah, certainly the wind causing havoc. People trying their best to battle against it. Seems to be very popular, these sort of little temporary marquees, as Outerbridge is going to bowl a third. That thuds into the thigh pad of Navneet Dhaliwal. They'll get through for what should be given as a leg bye, and is by umpire Vijay Mallela.
You might have to do that all day, gents. Instead of 4 iron 10 pegs, you might need to have 4 human 10 pegs. Keep that one from blowing away.
Yeah, there's somebody else just holding the one down to its right. Maybe they're thinking there's going to be strength in numbers. It's actually hard to get across the scale of the crowd because there's every single one of these temporary marquees has 20 or 30 people under it, and then we'll get a look at the grandstand in a moment. That's starting to fill up too. Plenty of pink on show. Those replica shirts have been the big seller of the week. Now, is this taken? Aaron Johnson is going nowhere. He thinks it's a bump ball. Bermuda are convinced that they have their man. And Aaron Johnson simply stands there. Outerbridge feels as though he's got his man. And particularly the fielder, Trey Manders, is convinced that this was straight to him. Was it hammered into the turf, or did it come straight to him? It's over to the umpires to decide.
Yeah, Dominic Sabir took the catch. I thought it was a clean catch. Sabir at mid-off is on the ring, and I thought this never hit the ground. I did not think this was a bump ball live. We saw a similar dismissal a couple days ago. It's clearly out. I thought live he clearly chipped it in the air. Very similar to one we saw a couple days ago, Lenny, and there was no doubt about that. I have no idea why Aaron Johnson is staying there. Sabir took a straightforward catch. And Aaron Johnson, you need to work on your acting skills there.
Well, good decision from the umpires. Jacqueline Williams has been around too long to be fooled by that one from square leg. She came across to Vijay Mallela, so that was clean. And they didn't quite get Johnson for that low score, but they got him for just a few more than that. 15 he's gone for. In a rather bizarre passage of play, Peter. The only reason we didn't call it as out live is because it was very clear that Aaron Johnson was just standing there. Dominic Sabir held his nerve in the difficult, blustery conditions. And CJ Outerbridge, well, he's continuing to be a thorn in Canada's side.
That's a Razzie, Lenny. It's a Razzie award. He's not going to get an Emmy or an Oscar for that one. Razzie nomination for Aaron Johnson. You got to work harder than that to fool the umpires. You didn't fool Bermuda in the field, that's for sure. Outerbridge and Sabir celebrated immediately. And after a brief bit of consultation between Jacqueline Williams and Vijay Mallela, Aaron Johnson walks off. Here it is, low full toss, just off the toe of the bat. Never came close to hitting the ground. And Sabir dives forward, pouches it. It's one of Bermuda's best fielders. And he showcases it there with that effort. Nothing is going to be easy catching-wise in the field today. That might have looked like an easy catch, but with the wind the way it's blowing, everything is going to be difficult. You cannot take anything for granted.
Will be Pargat Singh to the crease. Yeah, really bizarre passage of play. This is their side-on view, which is clearly going to show to you again as we go quite slowly on it. The ball's never bounced. It's a low full toss. It's not even the toe of the bat, is it? It's kind of the lower middle of the bat, but it's just twisted in his hand. Back live with you now. Direct hit this time. Jacqueline Williams is unmoved. They're going to be able to get an overthrow because of the deflection off the stumps. And it will be 2 to the total. I don't think I've ever seen a more bizarre passage of play. Maybe WG Grace has been resurrected here in Hamilton and Bermuda.
That was one for Ripley's, Lenny. And now we've got an issue. Not sure if that's Alan Douglas Jr. who's down. If he's injured himself on that run-out attempt, seems pretty innocuous live. Well, Alan Douglas Jr., I believe, is the man on the ground there, and he looks like he's suffering quite a bit.
I think it was Douglas Jr. doing the fielding as well, wasn't it? So whether in the the follow through from this throw, which we should hopefully see here. Might just be out of screen. Yeah, maybe is he just strained what would be a groin muscle or a hip flexor right in, sort of in the front of the leg, inner half of the leg. He's now going to try and stay on, we believe. The subfielder was stripped off and ready to go, Richardson, but for the moment, Douglas is going to try and battle through it. Remember, we did see Douglas up at the top of the order against Panama, so maybe he's thinking about wanting to ensure he's available to open the batting. Shorter this time and not able to beat the man in the ring. We saw Pargat Singh, player of the match, in that monstrous win for Canada here over the Cayman Islands, Peter, but it was a fairly scratchy innings for the first third of it. Would that be fair to say?
We've seen that from a number of guys in the Canada lineup today. Once he finally got in, though, he was playing reverses and inside outs and all sorts of stuff. Now we're seeing him try and play this dab shot.
Oh, direct it was gone. I think gone for all Monday. And I think of all people, it might be Kamau Leverock, who's gone quickly in from short third after the deflection from the keeper. And from the reaction of the players, he probably had 2.5 stumps to aim at. This could have been the second wicket. Dhaliwal would have been caught short. It's the end of the power play, 31 for 1. 18 overs per side, remember. Peter, was this gone if the direct hit was affected?
Well, Dhaliwal got a big start at the non-strikers, and he called for the run immediately.
Going to see if we can bring it to you now.
Dhaliwal took off right away. He had no hesitation, really. That one would have been tight. I'm not sure if we're going to get a side-on angle, but there's an awful lot happening there as Leverock comes out of the attack, and it's going to be Zico Burgess to bowl his first over of the day. And a reminder, the power play is over. Because this match is reduced to 18 overs, power play only 5 overs.
Yeah, Burgess has really impressed me, the 29-year-old. I know he's only picked up the 3 wickets so far. He made that quick-fire 19 with the bat too. But just the way he's gone about his business, he's very athletic, good fielder as well. His potential 4 overs today could be critical. I think we're mainly going to see the seamers bowl from that ocean end of the ground. And the reason for that, Peter, any spinner that bowls from that end, the batters will be hitting with a massive breeze behind their back and kind of over their shoulder to enable them to access straight down the ground for 6.
Well, I'm curious, really, how much spin we're going to see period today. Delray Rollins, I could see him bowling forwards because he bowls very flat and quick, but any spinner that uses flight, this is going to be a nightmare day for them.
You wonder, will they be tempted to just keep going with CJ Outerbridge as well? It won't necessarily come back particularly well. He's not express pace. Is he going to go Cali Muller on it, in tribute to the great Oman seamer who loves doing that in T20 cricket?
I wouldn't be surprised because it's so hard to establish a rhythm in these conditions. Once you have it, you don't want to lose it. Good running here from these two. Got to pinch every run you can in these conditions, and Dhaliwal and Pargat Singh working together very well to pick up a couple at wide, long on, taking on Bongi Leverock's arm.
Again, you have to remember the fielder who's out there at long on or long off will be throwing straight into the teeth of that breeze. That's hitting with the wind. Nicely played. He opens up and accesses the offside. Gets a good piece of it. Out of the middle of the bat. Takes the aerial route. Few bounces and 4 more to the total.
just backing away a fraction from leg stump to create some room to go inside out over the offside. Fantastic shot by Dallowall.
Looks for the Yorker this time. They're going to take on the fielder who's quite deep at cover. Excuse me, at backward point. Comes in, picks it up cleanly, but can't affect the direct hit. I think he was home anyway. Just almost sense the tension out there as Burgess comes to the end of what is a 10-run opening over for him. Canada just starting to move outside of the power play. They're 41 for 1.
We've lost our screen.
So 12 overs remain for Canada in this first innings. So much on the line here. Just to explain the permutations once more, they're very simple. The winning side today, presuming that we get to a result, Peter. Remember, we are at the tail end of this rather remarkable tropical storm that has confounded all of the meteorologists because it has taken so many bizarre routes and twists and turns as it's come up from the Caribbean. We didn't expect any rain today. We expected the rain last night, but then the rain seems to have come a little bit later. But anyway, if all that rain stays away and we do get to a natural conclusion, we need just 5 overs in the second innings to get us to at least a Duckworth-Lewis-Stern result. The winners will go to the T20 World Cup next year. Simple as that. As Delray Rowlands comes into the attack with his left arm spin. Prizes for associate cricketers in particular, Peter. They don't come any bigger than this, what these two are playing for right now.
And for both, it would be a maiden T20 World Cup berth. They've appeared in 50 over World Cups, but never the T20 format. As a matter of fact, no team from the Americas has ever qualified for the T20 World Cup. And next year, you're going to get 2 teams from the Americas at the associate standard appearing in the tournament. USA is co-hosts, and granted an automatic berth, and whoever wins this match.
Do you think over the course of the 4 days, it's right that it's come down to this, as the misfield's going to cost a second? Big appeal, but Jacqueline Williams confirms that Singh has safely got home. Do you think it's fair that that's the way it's concluded, despite Bermuda's huge win, the first in their history, 82 runs on the opening day of the tournament over Canada?
Oh, they win twice. Again, they'll silence all the doubters who say that was a fluke victory. Again, coming into that match, Canada had beaten Bermuda 7 times in matches that achieved a result between the two sides going back to 2010 in T20 cricket. There was one no result in the 8 matches they played, but Canada had won every match that achieved a result.
Good diving stop at backward point, but I have to say Canada's running between the wickets has been impressive there, taking the aggressive options and putting Bermuda under pressure in what are very difficult, very blustery conditions for all the fielders.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy throughout the day, so you can take as many chances as you want. And again, good running. We're seeing it again here. And Pargat Singh wants 3. This is outstanding running. It's not just good. This is incredible. There was no need, really, for that relay throw to come in. Sinclair Smith didn't do the best job handling it, but regardless, the awareness and the alertness from Pargat Singh to seize upon the third there after it caromed off the pads of Sinclair Smith just shows how hungry Canada is to win today and get their first opportunity at a T20 World Cup.
Well, that delivery there, what could have been a simple single and just jogged as 1, they've managed to convert it into 3. And remember moments like that towards the end. We see so often in T20 international cricket in particular, the margin of victory coming down to just 1 over or a handful of runs. In Canada, well, you'd expect them to be well drilled by that head coach who's something of an associate maestro. Not too sure what Pargat Singh is.
I think it's the wind blowing in his face. It's something that doesn't get really recognized in these conditions. As hard as it is for the bowlers, the batters, they often have to pull out in these scenarios because the wind can make your eyes tear up. If it's blowing straight into your face, it can be very difficult to see the ball.
That'll get us to the end of the 7th over. It's a good one. 7 runs come from it, from Rowlands, despite that well-run 3 in Canada, now 48 for 1. But yeah, you'd expect Canada to be well-drilled, wouldn't you, with Bemuda at the helm. He's got such a storied record with associate sides at ICC World Cups. Think back to Kenya, Canada, Nepal. All of their appearances over the years. Great efforts with the United States of America when he was with them.
You can see this hat blowing across the field. For anybody who's wondering how windy it is, you see this hat, the sub for Canada, Dilpreet Bajwa is trying to pick it up, and that is something we've seen a lot of through warm-ups. Umbrellas blowing across the field, hats blowing across the field.
Burgess to continue, looks for the Yorker. No sign of Derek Brangman yet. 2 right-handers at the crease. You surprised by that?
No, because, again, his style of bowling is more flight than Delray Rollins. Delray Rollins just darts it in, and I don't think Delray Rollins will be affected by the wind nearly as much as somebody like Derek Brangman will be today.
Good hard length this time from Burgess, and Dhaliwal unable to get anything on it. You think about that middle order of Canada, particularly the power hitting of Dylan Haylager. Also, you look at the style of tournament with bat and ball that Harsh Thacker has had. These moments, costly enough. Both batters seeing less than 100, and Dhaliwal just a fraction more than that. Need to get moving.
Quality over here from Zico Burgess. Now, fielders are supporting him. A lot more noise in the field now than there has been for the last 15 minutes or so, and the fans are starting to rally around him as well. Hargat Singh, conversely, is trying to come down to Navneet Dhaliwal and say, "You've had a good start. There's no reason to panic over 3-dot balls. Just keep your cool."
Down the leg side, and a good stop from Sinclair Smith saves the potential second wide that Jacqueline Williams has signalled. There's so much power, isn't there, from Haylager. Where do you see the Canadian order lining up, Peter? Nicholas Curtin played an impactful innings, really, for the first time in his T20I career a couple of days ago, too.
Well, again, they use a floating system. There's no real set positions. It's more to do with time remaining. Somebody who traditionally could come in 4 or 5.
Gets this hitting with the wind and not quite going to go all the way for 6, but the attempted Yorker turns into a long half volley, and Dhaliwal does get a boundary, and didn't he need it?
Yeah, Haylager, he's coming as low as 7, 8, 9. He can come in as high as 5. It's all about overs remaining. As you see this one over pitched. Full on the stumps. Dhaliwal didn't hesitate.
What a story it would be for Bermuda. 65,000 people or something in that vicinity on this gorgeous island. We heard before from all of the sponsors and the corporates getting behind the team. The whole island seems behind the team. It's going to land maybe 4 or 5 yards in front of the deep cover fielder. It's one of the great things about the expansion to that T20 World Cup next year, going to 20 teams for the first time. As we get to the end of the 8th over, the score 55 for 1. With due respect to Bermuda, qualifying for a 10-team 50-over World Cup would probably never be possible. But a 20-team T20 World Cup, particularly with guaranteed places for the region, it's very much within their grasp.
This could be a historic day for the host side, and so many of the Islanders want to take it all in. They're lining the boundary. Both sides of the ground. See the camera panning across the Frog Lane side. Rollins continues.
Rollins good off his own bowling. Yeah, you feel, particularly in an 18-over per side clash, and that's why Rollins is rushing through. Every dot is massive here. All it really would take is one good innings from either Rollins or Leverock if Canada keep on this trend. They're under 7 and over. 7 and over wouldn't even get them to that 140 marker. And anything under 140, would you say Bermuda very much favourites?
Wouldn't say very much, but they definitely have a strong chance.
4 consecutive dots now. The pressure really builds in Pargat Singh. He's taken so long to get going. He did this the other day. But then he cashed in, making a career best in T20I cricket. 5 dots now. How costly is this, Peter?
Well, before we saw Pargat Singh coming down the pitch to talk to Navneet Dalwal because Navneet Dalwal was struggling now. She was on the other foot.
Well, how good is that? A maiden over from the captain. Listen to the reception for that. Universal acclaim for the hometown leader. A maiden almost in many ways worth its weight in gold. Arguably as much as a wicket right now. And Canada barely going at a run of ball now. It's 55 for 1 after 9, halfway through this 18 overs per side contest.
If you've got Delray Rollins in your Dream 11 lineup, Lenny, you're dreaming, that's for sure. Extraordinary to see a maiden in T20 cricket under normal circumstances, but in a match where a spot in the T20 World Cup is on the line is outstanding.
Why was that over so good? The trajectories he bowled at seemed to me to be very clever.
Not just that, but the pacing. I mean, you can put a batter under pressure, you touched on it, with just the speed between deliveries. It's not just the speed of the delivery, but speed between deliveries. He kept on putting pressure on him by just not giving him time to react. As Dominic Sabir is now going to come on with his off spin for the first time today. Sabir. Five wickets at an average of 15.8, 5.64 economy rate, and got the huge wicket of Ramon Sealy in the contest against Cayman Islands a few days ago, and Cayman Islands was threatening an upset.
I understand the decision to get Sabir into the game. He's bowled so well when he has bowled in this competition, but is he bowling from the right end, Peter? Either of these right-handers gets it up into the air. Got a huge wind assisting them.
Well, if he doesn't bowl from this end, you're going to run into a situation where you're going to need to use 6 bowlers, because if Delray Rollins bowls 4 straight...
Slog swept into the wind. Does that make it a catching opportunity? Yes, it does. And that was the problem with that hit. I think it might be Charles Trott out there who's taking the catch. And Bermuda, they have their second. Pargat Singh's tortured stay at the crease is over. He goes for 9 with a strike rate of just 50.
The wind is blowing out and across, so it's blowing in from the pavilion. And that one held up in the wind. Not the wisest shot selection. You got to go straight down the ground, or you got to go to the offside if you're batting from this end. He tried to hit into the wind, and just poor recognition, poor awareness. The pressure was building, and it finally got to Pargat Singh, and it means Harsh Thakur comes out to the middle for Canada. Dominic Sabir came into this tournament with only 2 wickets in his career, but he's bowled some crucial overs, taken some crucial wickets for Bermuda. Really remarkable progression for Sabir over the course of this 8 days. He's still only 20 years old. Very promising talent. keep an eye on for Bermuda going forward.
Well, another big moment in the match is this decision to send Harsh Thacker in. He's at a marvellous tournament, but not again out of that power-hitting mould that Dylan Hayliger, or even what we saw from Nicholas Curtin a few days ago, striking up towards 300. So that will give Bermuda an opportunity just to bowl maybe 2 or 3 more tight overs. And look at that run rate, Peter. They're going at exactly a run a ball. That would only get them to 108. Surely that can't be enough. We've seen high scores throughout this competition when we've been here at the NSC. The wicket looks to be playing pretty well.
And they've got to focus on the even-numbered overs from this end, going straight down the ground. That's where your best scoring option is, hitting with the wind down the ground. Whether that means when Kamal Leverett comes back, try and target those overs. So the moment they're not really getting boundaries here off Dominic Sabir. This is going to be 2 highest scoring shot in the over, but when you've got the wind at your back, you've got to be looking for more than that.
And for me, much of this game, Peter, now will rest upon the power hitters to come. Surely Hayliger at least has to have the pads on. I think with Leverock and Rollins alone, let alone who else they have, Trey Manders, we saw Zico Burgess play a good little cameo, Alan Douglas Jr.'s made runs in this competition. Unless they can get up towards 8 and over, I don't think it's going to be enough. Get to the 10 over marker, 61 for 2 the score, and we're Bermuda to beat Canada twice in this competition. There'd be no arguments about who deserves their T20 World Cup spot for the first time.
That's what Bermuda's out here to prove to the world. Taking advantage of the home conditions as Brangman is going to replace Delray Rollins. So the captain is going to hold himself back. Very curious decision, Lenny. The timing of it. He's just bowled a maiden over. You know, the guy he bowled a maiden to has just been dismissed. But the fact that he's taken himself off here when momentum was going his way, I just wonder if he should have bowled at least one more over in his spell before deciding to go with Brangman.
Well, I wonder, is that Rollins saying, I'll bowl a couple of tough overs coming up the hill with the batters hitting with the wind. Brangman has to bowl from this end, doesn't he? It's where he picked up that 5-wicket haul earlier in the competition. Because he's that bit slower through the air too, it's going to be a very adventurous, very risky shot where either of these 2 batters trying to get 4 or 6 straight down the ground. Half an appeal, probably more in hope than expectation, and it's in fact given as a wide. Hit across the line, that's hitting a bit more with the wind, but there's protection out there, keeps it to just a single. Daliwell, 32 off 27, he's got to get moving too.
He's somebody who's typically not as aggressive as the likes of, say, Hayliger or Aaron Johnson. He'll play more of the anchor role. Still a decent amount of time left. We've seen at this ground, you can hit 15, 20 runs in and over with the wind going your direction. So I don't think it's quite at panic stage yet for Canada, but you've got to target those even-numbered overs. So 12, 14, 16, 18. They've got 4 overs left where they've really got to get at least double digits because they haven't been scoring a lot from this end that they're batting at now.
And that stroke there indicates exactly what the conditions are like. It is very rare in a T20I, let alone an 18 over per side game. You're going to see a ball left alone outside the off stump. Canada don't know where to score from this end of the ground.
Well, again, the wind is blowing from left to right. So Daliwell has to recognize if he thinks that it's going to be a wide by leaving it alone, the wind could take it back inside the wide lines. with as much flight as Bregman bowls with, a ball that starts out looking like somebody on the wide guideline, that's just going to curl back inside.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 11 completed overs, Canada are 66 for the loss of 2.
And at the end of 11, this game, particularly in the last 3 or 4 overs, is rapidly swinging towards the hosts. There's a growing sense of anticipation, almost an air of confidence around the ground. And in a funny way, whilst these two are at the crease, I'd expect that to continue. Canada need an X-factor hitter in now, and surely it's got to be Dylan Hayliger, who's got to get to the crease as soon as possible for them. Hit out or get out now for Thacker and Dhaliwal. And that's what Dhaliwal does, hitting with the wind. It's a tale of two ends and put down in the crowd. A definite chance for that lady, and she's nearly had a... Well, she's chuckling to herself. She seems okay, but she's definitely put down the chance.
Again, it's about calculated risk. This is the end where they have to attack. This is the end where you can score 15 or 20 and over. It's the even-numbered overs that they have to be aggressive. We didn't see that the previous over against Sabir.
Tries to repeat the dose. This will bring Long On into play. And it's put down. I think of all people, it's Kamau Leverock. If there's one man in this entire competition you want to try and take that, it's him. And I just wonder, has he done himself a nuisance as well? It was probably only inches off the turf. So difficult to adjudge. And he's indicating clearly he's done himself an injury to his hand.
I think it's more the wrist. I think he got his hands jammed trying to take this. I think the wrist might have just got jammed into the turf here. So he's put it down, and his fingers are fine. It's just when he hits the ground there, he might have gotten his hand jammed. And he's in a bit of pain now. He's going to tough it out. I'd be shocked if he comes off the field here, but he's definitely in some serious discomfort, is Kamau Leverock.
Yeah, I think it's a case of the entire hand being bent back. You saw on the replay it was barely a chance. It's only because it's Leverock you can call it a chance.
Well, again, we talked about it before. There's no such thing as a guaranteed catch here or an easy chance. Everything's going to be challenging today, and that was the wind having an impact. He stayed on the boundary when he really should have been coming in because the wind is... He thought the wind was going to carry that ball out a lot further than it did. He started very late coming in because it didn't get high enough in the wind to carry out to him. It was driven very low, so he needed to move a bit earlier, but it's so tough to judge with the wind today. So he had a very late start. He hung back as long as he could before coming forward late. If he came in off the rope immediately off the bat, it was a straightforward catch, but it's so tough to judge the ball in the wind today.
As so often happens in our game, the ball follows him. He does well and very nearly turns that into a run-out chance. We saw consecutive deliveries earlier in the tournament, the catch of the tournament and the run-out of the tournament. Two very difficult opportunities for Leverock. That one's bowled into the wicket. You have to say Sabir's probably trying to do that. He doesn't want to get it up full so the batters can target down the ground.
Here again, you can see Harish Thakur, he's backing away because he knows Sabir is going to cramp him for room on the body. So he's trying to back away to get room to go straight up in the air. He's trying to drive straight down the ground with that shotter. Go up and over extra cover because there's a huge gap between Long Off, who's fielding very straight on the boundary, and then that cover sweeper. Clever bowling from Sabir to counter that.
Well, the wind is just wreaking havoc. Blowing, gusting consistently, and you can see Sabir bowling that one into the wicket. Gets us to the end of the 12th, 76 for 2. One more look at this. I think it's very harsh to call it a drop chance. You can see that the ball kind of wedges between his fingers. And look at poor Kamau Leverock's fingers there, bent the whole way back. And going to be bruised at least, but he's a tough man, and he's keen to not just play through it, but continue as a bowling option through it for his captain.
Now, you might look at that ball by ball there and say, oh, 10-run over, that's a winning over for Canada. In reality, you've got to be scoring 15 to 20 from this end. I would call that a winning over for Bermuda. If you're Canada, you've got to score at least 2 boundaries per over batting from the aquatic center end here at the National Sports Center. When you've got the wind at your back, and Leverock, even though he might have been feeling uncomfortable after that chance diving forward, he's going to switch ends and come back into the attack from the aquatic center end.
Yeah, the only thing I'd question here is why is the seam bowler bowling downhill now with the wind? Surely he has to bowl from the ocean end of the ground. Leverock's to bowl his third. That finger damage is okay for the moment. And that's nicely struck. It was right into the slot. You have to remember Leverock's initial spell was bowling uphill into the wind, so the adjustment is going to be massive. And Rawlins barks out orders to him from long off. Leverock hit away for a boundary as Thacker starts to get moving into double figures.
In the slot, and Harsh Thacker drives it low through the wind.
Put down. Hit straight at Derek Brangman, who's just been taken out of the attack, and chances at international level, and in this win they don't come any easier. It went straight to him, in, out, dropped.
This is a carbon copy of the chance that Aaron Johnson stood for and was given out rightly for. Low full toss. Might have just barely pitched, but it was definitely not a bump ball. Driven in the air, and Brangman got his hands in an awkward position. He was leaning back. Instead of crouching forward, he was kind of falling backwards off balance. Didn't get his body into a good position. And again, I can't stress it enough, nothing is an easy chance today. The way the wind is playing.
I think that one, though, because it's come so quickly, of all the catches you'd take today, that should have been comfortable.
Well, you could see the way his body was moving. On a normal day, he wouldn't be leaning backwards one way or the other. He's trying to tilt his body to account for the wind, and it just threw everything out of sync. You could see even on that replay, as he's trying to take the catch, the hat is coming off one of the fielders of his teammates. Again, that just shows how strong the wind is today.
Big shout of well bowled from Delray Rawlins, the captain, who's clearly asking Leverock to go sort of for what, that 5th, 6th stump Yorker line?
And singles are victories here for Bermuda. Can we get the
Misses his length this time, and he's probably pretty lucky to get away with the wide. Anything on that, and it would have probably been 4 or 6. Look at the wind buffeting the jerseys of Bermuda. Peter, this chance, you felt it should have been taken?
Well, yeah, you could say it should have been taken, but again, there's no way to overstate the impact of the wind. Forget about the drop. Just look at the hat blown from the backward point fielder. Ball is coming off his... Oh, he's throwing his head on the ground. That's why it's blown away. But look at the hat blown away. He's throwing his head on the ground in frustration, Zico Burgess. And look at it. It's flopping away, flopping away. That just shows you how strong the wind is.
Helped around the corner. Deep backward square has work to do and does it well. Keeps it to a single. I have to disagree, Peter. That for me was a dolly. It should have been taken. Brangman puts it down.
Do you want to go out there and field any? I don't. Not in this conditions. Zico Burgess. You could see how much that wicket meant, though. Ripping his hat off and slamming it down. So much on the line here. The emotion on Zico Burgess' sleeve.
Nails the Yorker again. A really good over from Leverock despite that first ball. Going for a boundary run-out chance. And Leverock not able to flick it back onto the stumps. The throw came in off a second bounce. Wasn't the best. And they will pick up a couple to close out the 13th. 86 for 2. And we feel Bermuda still ahead of the game.
Sharp running here. They've been doing this all innings long. Trey Manders was the fielder, and if it was a cleanly held relay, that was a run out for sure. But again, so many things to contend with here. The way the throw came in, it just kind of skidded. Didn't come at a nice catchable height. And as you can see, the bowling changes that Bemuda has shuffled around with. Dominic Sabir is about to start his third over. Delray Rollins, again, will circle that decision. He bowled a maiden in the 9th, decided to take himself off for the 11th, and you wonder how much of an impact that'll have in the final result.
This goes a long way up. Yeah, how strong is the wind? Well, it's not going to matter because it's complete miss hit. Doesn't even get outside the 30-yard circle. And again, good game awareness from Canada. They recognise they can get back for a couple.
So it's like me at Turtle Hill Golf Course yesterday with the 7-iron, trying to drive it down the ground. Just go straight up into the wind. Didn't go anywhere.
Bowler just pulls out. This is the thing I love about events like this. It's all about inspiring the next generation. We've heard so many good stories, haven't we, Peter, of the fans who started out as kids watching their national team. Callum McLeod was a great example in 1999. Seeing their country play cricket for the first time inspired them to go on to become cricketers. And who's to bet against maybe one of these young boys or girls going on to play for Bemuda in the future?
Well, it was the 2007 World Cup that spawned really the likes of Kamal Leverock and Delray Rollins to play for Bemuda. Those guys were only 10, 11 years old at the time of the 2007 World Cup. And you could see a similar impact made by these cricketers if they can get to the USA and the West Indies next year.
Brilliant diving stop. Sabir has been inspired, isn't he? Bemuda, over the course of their games 2, 3, 4 and now 5, have shown that this team is about much more than just Kamal Leverock and Delray Rollins, the two stars. Come back to that replay if we can. Sabir's really impressed you. The fumble's going to allow a second.
That never should have happened. Never should have happened. The fielder out there, I believe, is Alan Douglas Jr., and he just basically stood on the boundary. Never moved a muscle coming off the rope. He just waited for the ball to land at his feet, and then he fumbled it. Tremendous awareness by Tucker and Dhaliwal to come back for 2, but never in a million years should that have been 2 runs. He just never moved a muscle to ensure that that was going to be nothing more than 1.
Chipped into the sky. He's going to get away with it because he's hitting with the wind. They think about the second, but the fielder is much prompter in. Gets us to the end of the 14th. The score is 92 for 2. Excuse me, correction, 93 for 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 14 completed overs, Canada are 93 for the loss of 2. 93 for the loss of 2 after 14 completed overs.
So 4 overs remain. And Dhaliwal and Thacker, although Thacker's been trying his best, just struggling to get their strike rates up above 115, 120. Another change of bowling. Leverock out of the attack. Brangman in, and a big appeal from Sinclair Smith, but Jacqueline Williams is unmoved. Brangman doing the business too with his 7 deliveries thus far.
Again, a reminder, if you're just joining us, this is an 18-over match, so there's only 4 overs to go here. Match reduced at the start to 18 overs after the 1-hour delayed start due to wet field conditions. And these are crucial deliveries being bowled by Derek Brangman.
There should be a good view of this attempted stumping. Thacker's foot did drift out for a moment, but then he just got back in time. great game awareness, match awareness from Bemuda, and particularly Brangman here. He's hiding the ball away outside the off stump, and he's saying to Canada's batters, find a way to score off it, because they've got protection in the deep, and they're not going to be able to hit over extra cover over long off, hitting into the teeth of a gale.
And that's what we didn't see moments ago from Alan Douglas Jr. That time, Trey Manders attacking the ball without hesitation off the boundary to keep it to 1. And again, Manders remaining active at wide long on. And interesting, again, this shows the impact of the wind. Camilo Everock is very straight at long off. The wind blowing left to right. Trey Manders is at a very, very wide long on, and that's as a consequence of the wind.
Outstanding bowling. And Canada just haven't come up with an answer. There's no innovation, there's no improvisation of any kind, and this is another over that belongs to the hosts. Man out there, Manders takes the catch. Outstanding from Derek Brangman. He's already picked up his maiden 5-wicket haul in T20I cricket, but that over there could be the most important that he's ever bowled for his country. It's gone for just 2 runs, and it's picked up a wicket to go with it. And Bemuda, well, they're not just ahead now, they're well ahead.
You got to credit the captaincy of Rollins here and the awareness of Brangman in terms of setting the field. Again, we talked about long off was very straight on the boundary, whereas long on was extremely wide because of the wind. And because Trey Manders was extremely wide on account of the wind, he was in perfect position. On another day, he would have been 10 to 15 yards further to the left on the boundary. Instead, he's more to cow corner than an orthodox long on. And this one hits very flat to Manders. He had to use a bit of the stomach to help that one in, Lenny. That didn't go clean into the hands. He used a bit of the muscle in his torso to trap that one into his body, to hold on to it. Because, again, it's not easy today. But he held on to it in the end. And this is a very, very curious decision here. We both expected Dylan Haliger, once they got into the final 5 overs, the expectation is that Dylan Haliger would be promoted up the order. We've seen him enter at number 5 early in this tournament. So it would not be unusual for Dylan Haliger to enter at number 5. 3 overs to go. Again, we're playing an 18-over match. 3 overs to go. I think a lot of people were expecting Dylan Haliger to come in at the fall of the next wicket. And instead, it's Nicholas Curtin who went just at the non-strikers end to start the 16th over.
And Dominic Sabir will bowl his 4th and final. Hit up into the sky, more catching practice. Another one held, it's 2-2. And both the set batters are gone. Maybe Haliger will get to the crease now. And there is so much delight. The air horns are blaring. And Bemuda, they have a 4th.
I was criticizing Alan Douglas Jr. about 5 minutes ago for being too slow to come off the rope. This time, Alan Douglas Jr. judges this one perfectly. Again, hitting into the wind. The wind is blowing from right to left. So on this replay angle, the ball is going to hang into play. We've seen 2 Canada batters fall in that fashion, trying to clear that boundary into the crosswind. Just very peculiar shot selection. You've got to know where you can take your calculated risks, and hitting into the wind to the boundary where the pavilion is here at National Sports Center, it just makes no sense, Lenny.
Well, I think he's dragged it, in fairness. He was probably trying to hit down over long on, but it's all gone horribly wrong here for Canada, and Bemuda have gone bang bang. They're on a team hat-trick. And again, it's 2 of their unsung heroes, Brangman and Sabir, doing the business. Really brave decision, you have to say, from Delray Rawlins to continue with his off-spinner to 2 right-handers for a 4th consecutive over, with both of those right-handers hitting with the wind. But Sabir has answered the call, and now he's just got to get out of this spell. He's got 5 balls potentially to Haliger. Haliger's going to have to do it from ball 1. He needs to change this context. Here comes the X-Factor all-rounder for Canada at number 6. So nearly that team hat-trick I was talking about, a swing and a miss.
Well, Sabir, even more impressive when you considering how much punishment Camilo Everock took bowling with the new ball from this end. None for 20 in his 2 overs with the new ball. Bowling from this end, Sabir. 1 for 22, 2 for 22, excuse me.
That's gone a long way up. The wind hits it and hits it over the rope. Great athletic effort from Kamau Leverock at long on. But that's the power of the wind. And because he got it high, Peter, the wind and the wind alone got that over the rope.
And if you hit it flat, it's a catching chance. If you hit it high enough in the air, the wind is going to do a lot of the work for you. As that 6 brings up the team 100 for Canada. Every run is so valuable right now.
Now, where was he earlier in the innings, Peter? Surely the play was Hayligger at number 4. Not being critical of Harsh Thacker, he was trying his best. It's an 18 overs per side contest. They were only going at about a run a ball. This is the power he possesses.
And the wind getting it high enough as he did helps that one over. Well, this is a mighty impressive unbroken 4-over spell from Dominic Sabir. 2 for 29 with 2 balls to go.
Reverse swept brilliantly uphill into the wind. He's hitting with the spin though, Curtin. And he gets his first boundary from his very first delivery.
Well, this is an extraordinary way to get off the mark. No protection there because you're hitting into the wind. So he's decided he's going to take on the conditions, take on the field. And he wins.
Just backing his best option, I suspect it will bring about a change in the field. The man at backward point will come around to cover, and the sweeper will go out to a deep point from a deep cover. 5 on the offside, 4 on the leg. As Curtin gets it, maybe just inches out of the reach of the leaping Dominic Sabir, who gets a fingertip on it to close out his spell. It's been an outstanding one, bowling the 4 difficult overs from the far end. He'll finish with 2 for 34. And Canada, 107 for 4. Just 2 remain.
And again, anything less than 15 from the even over at end, that's a victory for Bermuda. Hayligger is the wild card now for Canada. How much of the strike can he get over the final 12 deliveries? He's going to start this over off strike. And then once he gets onto strike, how much can he score?
So going to be Delray Rawlins, the captain, to bowl the penultimate over this first innings. Remember, it's a winner takes all. It'll be Rawlins' 3rd. Very selfless of the skipper to just do what's best for the team. You'd suspect probably Kamau Leverock, possibly Zico Burgess will bowl the 18th and final over, where Canada are going to need, well, not just double digits, they'll need more than that if possible. Going a fraction over a run a ball. 2 big overs here, Peter, could get them to 140. Nicely played by Curtin, but Manders fields it cleanly and keeps it to just 1. Really good work at long off.
Interesting from the captain. He's only going to wind up bowling 3 overs. Again, considering he bowled a maiden in the 9th, you wonder, has he miscalculated? Only bowling himself for 3 overs, Delray Rawlins.
Floods into the pad of Hayligger. Clever from Rawlins to keep it out of the hitting arc of the big man.
Yeah, coming out of the attack when he did it, I don't think anybody in this ground expected Delray Rawlins to not pull out his quota, Lenny.
Rawlins just coming out to Kamau Leverock to have a quick word. I think that's probably just to say to his all-rounder, you've got to bowl the 18th and final over, my friend. Just make sure you're ready. Again into the pads. Rowland's using all of that experience of professional cricket to lead his country here. Are Bermuda well ahead of the game here, or just inches ahead?
At this stage, they're miles ahead.
Never going to be two to Kamau Leverock out at long off. Another single. This is an outstanding over, just 2 runs off the bat.
40 minutes ago, Lonnie, you were asking, is 140 going to be enough? Take a couple of prayers, a couple of Hail Marys to get to that right now if you're Canada.
Down the leg side, but it's flicked something, maybe just the top of the front pad, and Hayliger, his game is built upon power down the ground, having to play an unnatural stroke. Rowland's knowing his opposition so well. He's going to be just a single as well. They're going to take on the second with the throw into the wind, and they will get there, but it doesn't take away from the brilliance of that over. 4 runs off the bat, 5 in total. Chalk up another one towards Bermuda. And it's a Nelson now, 1-1-1 for 4. Will be Kamau Leverock to bowl the 18th and final. Peter, we feel this is well short of par. Even if Canada get a big last over, get up to 130, how could it be enough? No over, Peter, with more than 12 runs off it in the entire innings.
Well, you got to divide it up into the odds and evens. When they've been hitting with the wind at their back, 72 runs off of 8 overs, hitting with the wind at their back, that's just not good enough. You've got to utilize the conditions when they're in your favor. They scored 20 off the first 2 overs bowled by Kamau Leverock, but then the 6 overs since then, just 52 runs.
And the question is, can Kamau Leverock get Bermuda out of this innings? Well, with help like that in the outfield, maybe he can. I think it's Zico Burgess, isn't it, out at quite a straight mid-wicket, who leaps through the air and saves 2 runs.
And this is brilliant from Burgess, saving at least 2. 72 runs from the even-numbered overs. 40 from the odd-numbered overs.
Now, has he got enough of this? Oh, yes, he has. Into the crowd. Maybe it is Nicholas Curtin, the man, to just give Canada late momentum and late hope.
Again, they needed this much earlier. Again, if you look at the breakdown, 40 runs hitting into the wind, 72 runs hitting with the wind, and 8 overs. 40 runs in 9 overs hitting into the wind. They needed to be scoring double-digit at a minimum with the wind at their back. And more realistically, 15 to 20 per over, and it just hasn't happened. You got to credit Bermuda. They bowled very cleverly, cramped the Canada batters for room, but Canada, I haven't really ever felt a sense of urgency for them during this innings, Lenny, when they've had the conditions in their favor.
Just 4 maximums in the innings, including this one from Curtin, who is, well, developing a power game in a big way. Look at how deep he was in the crease there, very nearly going back on his wickets. Back live with you now. This time he gets it into the block hole. Now, Hayliger wants the second. Well, actually, he doesn't. Curtin wanted it, and Hayliger said no, probably rightly so. 3 balls left. Can Hayliger get 3 over the ropes? such a huge disparity between the two ends that we're witnessing the bowling from, Peter, because of that wind. It's, well, certainly the gusts must be upwards of 20, 25 miles an hour coming off the back end of that tropical storm. If you haven't been watching, with a delayed start, 18 overs per side. 3 balls left. That's hammered by Hayligger, but it's along the ground, and they should have taken on the second. I'm not quite sure why Curtin didn't.
Curtin literally stood at the striker's end for a good 2 seconds. That was a stone cold 2 with 3 balls left in the innings, especially off a misfield, and Hayligger wanted it. It was a role reversal from the previous ball, where Curtin wanted 2 off the previous one to keep strike. Hayligger settled for 1. This time, easy 2 on offer. And Curtin is the one who's a bit casual.
Nicely played. Innovation that we haven't seen throughout the innings. We've seen basically nothing like this, apart from then Curtin's come to the crease. 1 reverse sweep now. A little ramp or a scoop over short fine leg. And Curtin's playing a gem of a knock, 20 off just 9.
He looked so good here a couple days ago. And he's picking up right where he left off.
And he just turns his back on this one and says, I know that's gone. And it's gone a long, long way. What a knock from Nicholas Curtin. We thought it would be Hayligger that would provide the mid-innings momentum, but it's been the left-hander. Fresh from a career best against the Cayman Islands. He makes 26 off just 10, maybe to bring that contest back towards parity. Feigns a little ramp shot and then pumps it over the head along on. Clever use of the conditions. And he follows up that 32 against the Caymans at 26 off 10 to give Canada, well, some hope, real hope, at 132 for 4.
2 matches in a row where he's had a strike rate over 200, where before that his strike rate was under 100 for his entire career. Nicholas Curtin, he's probably wishing he had more opportunities to bat on this National Sports Center wicket early in his career, Lenny, because if he could package this up and take it with him around the world, he'd be a megastar. 26 not out off 10 deliveries, and that 20-run over is giving Canada hope. Again, the disparity in the odd versus the even overs. They score 92 off 9 overs, batting from the aquatic center end, hitting with the wind, and they score just 40 off 9 overs, hitting into the wind. Huge disparity in Bermuda. If they appreciate that and are aware of that in the field, they need to utilize it even better in their favor when they come out to bat.
Well, a card of 2 halves, really. Johnson, Dhaliwal, and particularly Singh and Thacker with those strike rates of under 100, never really got going, despite Dhaliwal top scoring with 45. But then Curtin and Hayligger's little partnership that we'll actually just take a look at the numbers from might be game-changing. That 37 that they put on came from just 17 balls, mainly with Curtin playing the lead foil. Kamel Everock, very expensive indeed. 4 overs, none for 50. I just wonder, did Delray Rawlins get his sums a tiny bit wrong? The picks of the bowling attack for us, though: Dominic Sabir, Derek Brangman, and Delray Rawlins himself. The 3 spinners were excellent. So too CJ Outerbridge with his 1 for 10 from 3 overs, but he wasn't brought back. It means at the halfway stage, as we leave you for the mid-innings break, Canada have 132 on the board, and Bermuda will need 133 to qualify for our first ever T20 World Cup. Don't go anywhere too far. We'll be back with all the action with you in less than 10 minutes' time. So welcome back to beautiful Bermuda for the last time in this tournament. We've had such a short gap where our head of production is sprinting across the field to make sure he gets the necessary bit of food. I don't think they've eaten yet. Oh my God, they're even bringing drinks across for the guys. Got to thank you, Mayor. And all the team for the amazing work they've done. We're all set. There's a T20 World Cup final spot on the line. And it would be a maiden appearance for both Canada or Bermuda. Who's it going to be? Well, you're going to find out with us over the course of the next hour or so. And so much is going to depend upon these overs from Kaleem Sana, who's going to get us underway. The tournament's leading wicket taker, bowling to Kamau Leverock. An immediate play and a miss. Andrew Leonard here alongside Peter Della Penna. We saw an innings that favoured Bermuda for the vast majority of it, but a final blitz, concluding a partnership of 37 off 17 balls from Nicholas Curtin, alongside the big hitting Dylan Halinger, who was really the quieter one of the two in the partnership. It has meant that Bermuda are going to need in and around 7.2 per over from the start of the innings. An 18 over per side game. 133 they'll need to win. Their chance at history, it awaits. And those late runs, Peter, for Canada have given them a real chance.
They have, and because of the conditions, and we saw because of the way the pace bowlers struggled bowling from the ocean end. Kaleem Sana has bowled most of his overs from the ocean end all week long. He switched around. Rare to see him bowl from this end, and it may have been spurred as a result of seeing how Kamau Leverock struggled as a pace bowler bowling from that preferred end.
And you'd have to think that it's going to be Leverock and Rawlins in particular, also Trey Manders. They're the numbers we have from across all of the cricket club's games. He's had covered that career strike rate over 130. T20I cricket, I think it's even more than that, isn't it, for Leverock, up towards 150. They're going to need him at his best. Which one of the two left-handers between him and Rawlins will step up for the nation today? It's literally all on the line for both sides. And Sana, well, he's the wicket-taking threat in chief. Potentially, Bermuda will be happy enough being cautious against him and attack the 4 or 5 other bowlers that will be used.
I think it's not just being cautious against him, cautious hitting into the wind. This is the end where Canada only scored 40 off of their 9 overs. You have to really divide the overs up today, not between pacers and spinners. You have to divide the overs up between bowling or hitting with the wind versus bowling or hitting into the wind. And Canada scored 92 out of their 132 runs. They scored twice as many runs hitting with the wind.
A very watchful start from Leverock, maybe identifying that threat. Just has clouded over a touch as well, Peter. Remember, if we get to the 5 over marker, we are going to have an official game. Let's see if we can get the Duckworth-Lewis sheet just to keep you posted on that. Very watchful start from Leverock. Bring that required run rate into play, Peter. Just one maiden would push it up towards 8 runs per over. There'll be a maiden. Sana starts right on the money. 6 consecutive dots. The score is none for none.
Well, we saw a maiden in the first innings, bowled by Delray Rawlins. That didn't come until the 9th over. Here, Kaleem Sana, exceptional with the new ball. And I tell you what, after 17 overs, Lenny, the Bermuda fans were riding high. That 20-run over has taken the wind out of the sails of a lot of the fans lining the boundary here. There's got to be 1,000 strong here inside the ground. You're walking around on the pavilion side. There's some VIP marquee tents. You've got all the fans who've brought their tents on a personal level, lining the boundary on the Frog Lane side of the ground to the east. And it's just a tremendous atmosphere today. But The party has gone quiet.
Well, the party could be started here if Manders can get a hold of Harsh Thacker hitting with that really strong breeze. And this, for me, Peter, is a risk. It's a gamble. You can only have 2 fielders outside the circle for the first 5 overs today. And the reason for that is we've got a shortened 18 overs per side contest. So those 2 fielders outside the circle at the moment, they've got a deep mid wicket and a long off in place. That means that if Manders wants to go over long on, it's completely vacant. He's right on the edge of the 30-yard circle, the mid-on fielder.
And this is
an over for either Manders or Leverock to attack right from the off.
well, and if you're talking with a deep mid wicket in place, you're going to try and bowl as tight as you can on the legs, really almost outside leg stump, to try and cramp Manders, force him to hit towards that deep mid wicket fielder. Now that Leverock's on strike, the left-hander, we're going to see this same fielding alignment. They've got a long on in place for the left-hander. So the fielder, Nicholas Curtin, has not moved. He was at long off for the right-hander, now he's at long on for the left-hander. So Harsh Thakker's got to keep it very straight. They've got a deep mid-wicket in place. He's got to keep it tight on the body. If he bowls anything outside off stump, Leverock's got a free license to go over extra cover, over mid-off for a boundary. This is good. This is the line and also the length. We've seen the bowlers from this end bowl back of a length, dig it into the wicket. Anything full is going to disappear. You got to bowl back of a length, and you got to keep it tight on the body with this field alignment. And after 8 balls, the most nervy of ways to get off the mark for Kamau Leverock. And you could hear some gasps, some audible gasps in the crowd. And what was a party atmosphere about 25 minutes ago is turned very nervy here at the National Sports Center. Slip in place, Aaron Johnson, with Manders now back on strike. And this is outstanding so far from Harsh Thacker. And it's really sucked the life out of this crowd. Aaron Johnson, fantastic at slip. Harsh Thacker, the gamble pays off for Canada. Manders was being tucked up. Nothing was fault. He tried to use the pace on the ball back of a length, and instead he gives catching practice to slip. Aaron Johnson, it's 2 for 1. 11 balls into the chase.
Big moment in the game. Huge, in fact. Manders, who very much underrated sometimes at the top of the order, proves so effective. He's gone early. And this is a big move too. It's not going to be Delray Rollins. They're going to stick with Terran Frey. Excellent catch from Aaron Johnson. Second good one he's taken. Rollins is going to show his faith in Terran Frey, who has been, well, horribly short of runs thus far in this tournament. There's going to be a lot of pressure on the 32-year-old. They're going to go like for like, send the right-hander in. Scores so far here, 5, 4, and 8, Peter. Desperately need some runs.
Got 186 runs overall in his T20I career at an average of 12.4. And he gets off the mark immediately with a single. And it could turn into 2 if Kamau Leverock is awake at the other end. And this is, again, a subtle difference between the two sides. You got to be alert for every single run. Here's the chance that was taken by Aaron Johnson. And really one-handed. Knee height. And I want to take a look at that replay again. It's not often that you see a slip fielder with his body angled the way that Aaron Johnson is. He's almost got his body at a 45-degree angle. Take a look at the way that he's positioned for this chance. And look at the way his hips are turned. He's at a 45-degree angle.
And look at how sharp the chances is as well. He's made this look easy. This is outstanding. It's come right off the face of the bat. Look at how he's held on to that. The left hand came in just in time. It bobbled from the right into the left. That was not easy. 9 out of 10 on the difficulty scale. And the catch is held on to. I think Mandre's going to consider himself a little unlucky. Here's the Cayman Islands boys. Just enjoying the action. A couple of beverages as well. Party time here on the island as the tournament rounds out. Will it be party time for Bermuda though? Or can Canada claw this one back? Remember, for much of that first innings, in fact, the vast majority of it, they have been behind the 8 ball. They've taken the momentum in though at the halfway stage. Can they build on that now alongside that early breakthrough?
Well, two things. You got to capitalize on the power play overs with the field up, and you got to capitalize with the wind. At first over, with the wind, just 3 runs from it. So already Bermuda under significant amount of pressure here. Again, we saw Canada score more than twice as many runs hitting with the wind down the ground than they did hitting into the wind. And Bermuda still has yet to score a single run hitting into the wind.
There's just no rhythm, no timing at all. Conditions are such that it is almost a chase of 2 halves, or a game of 2 halves here. One from the ocean end where you can score freely hitting with the wind, and this from the aquatic centre end, there's just nothing doing.
At the moment, the only thing you can hear out on the field is the noises of the Canada fielders. This Bermuda crowd has turned completely silent.
The runs just aren't coming, and Sana is bowling with a real head of steam. Serious pace being generated. Did see him be a little bit erratic in that Cayman Islands context, despite picking up all those wickets. Bowling the Caymans out for 30. 2 5 wides, he conceded 2.
And if you're Bermuda, you're wondering, why is he doing one of those today? They could certainly use one. His runs just aren't coming off the bat against Kaleem Sana. This is a superb spell with the new ball.
The approach as well, Peter, just sparking a few harsh words from some of the crowd. The crowd want them to get going, take advantage of this power play. Right now, it's a power play in name only.
Kaleem Sana coming into today in the tournament is the leading wicket taker with 12 wickets at an average of 5.41 and had the 3rd best economy rate in this tournament with 4.33 behind only Harsh Tucker and Nikhil Dutta, who interestingly didn't bowl hasn't bowled yet. You could see him yet today.
And even a wide half volley like that one, which is there to be hit. Frey's lack of form, well, it's costing Bermuda dearly now. 1 off 5, Leverock 1 off 8. Canada right on top.
It's not quite at panic stage yet, but it's not that far off. And again, the only silver lining here for Bermuda is that scoring is going to be difficult in general from this end. We saw what a struggle it was for Canada. They scored just 40 runs off 9 overs batting from this end. What that does mean is that when you're batting from the aquatics end, you've got to capitalize in a huge way, and we did not see that in the first over bowled by Harsh Tucker.
Frey just looks horribly out of form. Is this a time that you would have preferred to have seen Delray Rowlands come in, despite it being the right-handed opener that was dismissed?
I'm going to throw in a slightly different perspective on this one. I would have actually maybe even preferred to see a Dominic Sabir or an Alan Douglas Jr., one of those two, somebody who's actually going to come out and be aggressive. I don't necessarily think you move Delray Rowlands up the order because he's somebody who has that responsibility. He likes to play that role to see the team through the middle overs against spin in particular. He's such an outstanding player spinning. You don't want him to come on before he has an opportunity to face the bulk of the spinners. Saad bin Zafar moves from the offside to the leg side. But somebody has to step up, and Terran Frey just hasn't done it this tournament.
Well, it needed a bit of translation for me, but apparently the cries from the crowd are hit the ball, boy. As the passionate home fans right now, well, they're getting in on top of Terran Frey a touch, who just can't get anything going. And that will just pile the pressure onto Leverock, who too is at a tight start. Just the wide from that over. Kalim Sana has remarkably backed up the maiden and gone for just one from his second over. Remarkable figures for probably, well, without doubt, the best bowler in the tournament.
No runs off the bat and 12 legal deliveries bowled. And Canada taking that momentum from the 18th over, of the first innings straight into the field, and this crowd is getting quite restless all of a sudden. If you're Bermuda, if you're the fans on the boundary, you don't mind if they go down swinging. But if they go down blocking, you're going to be full of regret and wondering, what if? Have a go out there if you're Bermuda.
Yeah, I think for me, Peter, it also shows off something that at some point, some points pundits don't like to talk about, which is momentum. They think it's a fallacy. Don't agree with that. All the cricket you watch, particularly at the associate level, if you take that momentum in from that first innings, even though Canada had what we feel is an under par total, it won't have felt like an under par total because they finished so strongly. Those last 17 deliveries that the fifth wicket partnership came together for yielded 37 runs to get them up to that 132. So they've walked off the pitch feeling $1 million, and now they've come out and started brilliantly with the ball. If they do go on to take the victory today, you can put it all down to that momentum that they swung towards the end of that first innings.
And again, also, 2 drop chances in the field for Bermuda. So they cost themselves some runs in that way as well. And the running between the wickets, a bit lackluster here so far, you have to say. Canada is locked in the field by comparison.
I think probably the most frustrating thing for the crowd right now is there is not only no shots being played in anger, but there's no intensity in the running between the wickets. Even though Canada struggled, they at least were pushing hard for every run they could.
Oh, and even you can hear the fans getting restless with that lethargy in that single. That was a ball that all innings long Canada was pushing for 2, and this pair is just casually jogging 1.
Now a big shot. Now one goes into the sky. Now one is hit with the wind, and it goes all the way for 6 and out onto Frog Lane. I don't think they'll be getting that one back. Much more like it for Leverock, and now the home crowd have something to cheer.
Oh, they'd been pent up for the last 15 minutes or so. The home fans desperate for something to cheer about. And finally, Kamal Leverock provides that emotional release. First boundary of the innings, and it's a big one. Bongi goes, boom! Well, we're wide long on, and then some. One bounce onto Frog Lane. A no doubter.
That is why the risk of spinners bowling from that ocean end of the ground is such, whether it's to a left or a right-hander. The brilliance of that stroke from Leverock was he's essentially got that directly into the line, the apex of the wind. In essence, that's where it's piling down towards, for the left-hander, a very wide long on. Get it up into the air, you're going to get 6, even if you only get half a hitting it. And Thacker now under pressure for the first time in his spell. Cut away. 6 and now 4. Much more like it from Bermuda. And finally, they're starting to get this chase going and bring that home crowd into the game. 4 have been bowled. It's 18 for 1.
Well, it took Canada until the 20th over to really have anything more than 10 and over batting from this end. And this time, early in the power play, Levrock, a 14-run over, has just balanced the ledger for Bermuda. Not nearly as bleak as it looked 2 balls earlier. 18 for 1 after 4. And now this is an interesting decision too, Lenny. Kaleem Sana, who was in such a good rhythm, and Bermuda's batters looked absolutely hopeless against him. We saw Delray Rollins take himself off after a maiden in the first innings. Kaleem Sana has not conceded a run off the bat, but they're taking him out of the attack. They want to save his last 2 overs, and instead they're going to call upon Dylan Haliger to come into the attack.
Well, that's for me what going to cricket was all about as a youngster. You might not even really be too aware of the score. It gives you a chance to have a few hits, maybe get a few autographs after as well. Looks like a good little left-hander here. Good shape, good style. Going to be Jeremy Gordon to... In fact, it will be Dylan Haliger, I'll correct myself. Thank you, Peter. To bowl from the Aquatics end of the ground. Haliger been impressive this tournament. And that one is hit uphill into the wind. The extra pace on the ball being fancied by Frey. And how that will help Bermuda's cause. Frey now getting in the act. 3 consecutive boundaries from 3 balls. And much, much more like it. Bermuda move into the 20s.
And the only thing I can think of why they replaced Kaleem Sana is they thought Terran Frey is struggling so much. Maybe they thought they could squeeze in an over from a second choice pace bowler against Frey because he couldn't put bat on ball, but that's got him untracked. Half volley in the slot, and he dispatched it, and it sparked a change in the field. Kaleem Sana was in the ring at mid-on. Now he's pushed back to the rope.
That's where the ball will go again. Just be a single this time. A reminder that this is the final over the power play, so just 2 fielders allowed outside the circle in what is an abridged 18 overs per side contest.
And now with Levrock on strike, the left-hander. They've got a deep third out is Nikhil Dutta. And then they're going to push Pargat Singh out of the ring from mid-on to long-on. Those are going to be the 2 boundary riders in this final over the power play. Again, a reminder for those just joining us, it's an 18-over match, so there's only 5 overs in the power play instead of 6. And at the moment, Bermuda's required run rate just a touch over 8.
Yeah, and that for me very manageable, particularly with Rollins to come, Peter. And even after that ever so tardy start, the first 3 overs only went for 4, but then a little salvo has got those fans up in the grandstand waving their Bermuda flags. It's a great atmosphere. Lovely to see such a healthy crowd here. Full toss. Levrock can't really get any timing. Frey should think about a second. He says yes, and then he says no, and the throw ends up going to the wrong end. Levrock could have been in a bit of trouble. He had to turn quickly. If they had gone immediately, they would have got there. But the running continues to be hesitant between the wickets.
Oh, there's bad cricket on both sides here, Lenny. There was 2 runs there, and then when Terran Frey changed his mind halfway, Pargat Singh, you said it, he chose the wrong end. Kamal Levrock was going to be run out by a couple yards if he threw to Dylan Haliger over the stumps.
Sliced away, and that's hitting with the wind, so it will go over the head of the short third fielder who's up in the circle. And the air horns, well, they are blaring around Hamilton. What a difference 5 minutes makes.
Not exactly where Terran Frey intended, but they all count. He was trying to go in front of square. Instead, it comes off the thick edge, and it was probably to his benefit, because if it was in front of square, it would have held up in the wind for an easy catch to backward point. Instead, it sails with the wind over short third.
Oh, yes. More runs now into the leg side, and the aggression really starting to come. But again, the running between the wickets, not the swiftest. Curtin is quick, though, so we'll keep it to just a single.
Curtin's quick, and he unleashed that relay very quickly, too. He was quick to the ball, quick out of the hand. But again, just a very lethargic stroll between the wickets. They've got to push hard to put some pressure on the field. A lot of the runs that were scored by Canada, those twos, were simply putting pressure on the fielders. Sequences that didn't look like there was necessarily going to be two, but sparked by misfields.
Floods into the pad, an appeal really only from Wijeratne, but a direct hit would have been gone. Massive moment in the game, monstrous in fact. If Leverock had been run out here, well, the power play would have belonged to Canada. Instead, I think it belongs to Bermuda, who've gone at a run of ball and picked up their scoring rate quickly. This was run out for all money, but Hayliger, he couldn't affect the direct hit.
Well, you're a fan of calling this the sliding doors moment, Lenny. Bongi Leverock didn't respond and didn't have a prayer of getting to the non-striker's end. My goodness. Dylan Hayliger, he rushed it. I don't think he realized he had as much time as he did. He just fielded, whipped, and fired. He didn't have his body balanced. He just tried to unleash it as quick as he could. He could have steadied himself from 10 yards out and had a much calmer shy of the stumps. And put a circle around that moment. Bongi Leverock with a life on 14.
Well, you talk about massive moments. That was one. This is another. This over here, surely going to be a key one. Thacker's being persisted with. It's a third consecutive over from the off spinner, bowling the tough overs from the far end. Every run now being applauded by the home crowd. Big gamble to bowl the off spinner, 3 consecutive.
Well, they've done this throughout the tournament. He's been somebody who's bowled 3 straight or 4 straight. Power play's over, so he can have extra fielders outside the ring now. They've got a deep mid-wicket, deep square leg, long on, long off, and a cover sweeper for Terran Frey. The only difference between this sequence and previous sequences in the tournament is that when Harsh Thakur's bowled 3 or 4 straight, it hasn't been on a day where there's a 30-mile-an-hour wind. And now you can see why the captain has shown confidence in him. Again, dragging the length back. It's a lot easier to hit when it's bowled full. You dig it into the wicket. It's harder to muscle the ball in the air. And this time again, Frey, not exactly convincing, but he does enough to get off strike and put Leverock back on strike, who has been more confident against Harsh Thakur. It was against Thakur in the 4th over that Leverock hit the first 2 boundaries of this chase for Bermuda, over long on for 6 and then over cover for 4.
And the tactic is clearly to bowl into the wicket. Nothing full. Don't allow the batters any air to try to look to hit down the ground with. That's what the off-spin of Dominic Sabir did so well from this very end too. And clearly Thakur has learnt from that. This is a brilliant over. 3 singles from it. Frey, can he find a boundary from the last ball of the 6th? No, he can't. Continues just to knock it around. Again, Peter, the running between the wickets, I can see it's frustrating you.
Well, frustrating me. You can sense the frustration from the boundary as well. The fans lining the rope here. They're grumbling. You've got more than 1,000 fans here in attendance today. That's close to 4% of the island's population here, Lenny. Where else can you say that? And Sadman Zuffer, who at times has been held back by himself, really. He's the captain. He's decided he's going to bring himself on quite early. This may be the earliest we've seen him bowl in the tournament, actually, Lenny. Sadman Zuffer, the captain and left-arm spinner for Canada, replacing Dylan Haliger after just 1 over.
And the approach here will be the key for Bermuda from these overs of spin from this end of the ground. Where are they going to look to score? Will we see innovation that we didn't see early in Canada's innings? Well, this one's going to be slog swept out of the ground. Takes it on. Gets it up enough to get the wind into effect. He's not hitting against the wind. And the Bermuda flags, they are flying again. Frey finds a way into the 20s with a big hit for 6.
No doubter. That one cleared Nicholas Curtin by a good 10 yards. Yeah, there's 2 ways to score. You can go to the leg side boundary hitting towards Frog Lane away from the pavilion. That's where the wind is blowing. And it's also blowing from the south to the north out towards the ocean. So that was a calculated risk by Frey. And now Sadman Zuffer with a very good adjustment. He's dragged his line much wider outside off stump and dragged the length back as well. And this is where you saw so many dot balls bowled by Derek Brangman and Delbray Rollins in the first innings. Just get it short and wide outside off. Becomes very difficult to score.
Particularly with that stacked offside field. 5 fielders out there, including 2 behind square on the offside. So that's the tactic. And Sadbin Safar has learned quickly. It's almost now a game of cat and mouse. Frey knows where the ball is likely to be delivered. How can he find a way to score off it? 3 consecutive dots.
Yeah, on a traditional day, you would say short and wide bowling. That's the last thing you want. In these conditions, short and wide bowling is outstanding. Taking the wind into consideration here. And Sadman Zuffer bowled full and straight, went for 6. Next 5 balls, short and wide, all of them go for dots. It's 40 for 1 after 7. And again, this is an 18-over chase. So Bermuda needs 93 off of 11 overs from here.
Well, another big moment in the game is it's going to be Nikhil Dutta into the attack. You sense that his mystery spin, his variety, which looks like it's going to be used during the more difficult overs, the even numbers overs. This is the 8th.
I don't agree with this, Lenny, because he's a flight bowler. And if you bowl flight here, you're asking to get slaughtered.
He hides it away outside the off stump, and surely going to be an easy 2 for Leverock. Frey has somewhat hogged the strike since he's come to the crease as well. Leverock's only faced 17 balls. This tactic is blatantly obvious, isn't it? The spinners are just trying to get the ball hidden away outside the off stump.
I wonder if you'll see what we didn't see much of in the Canada innings here. You talked about it, Lenny. The innovation. Will Terran Frey possibly try to walk across his stumps to try and access a better angle behind square? Jeremy Gordon is the only fielder there behind square on the leg side, inside the ring at 45.
And that one is flighted up, but Frey just can't take advantage of it. His struggles continue despite that maximum to start the previous over.
That was a bad ball. In these conditions, that was a poor ball by Nikhil Dutta, and he got away with it. It's another poor ball that goes for a dot, and that just underscores the difficulties that Terran Frey has had. Anything full here, you're flirting with danger, and 2 in a row, Nikhil Dutta has gotten away with.
This time uses his feet down the track. Every single delivery feels like an event. One that is seesawing this T20 World Cup spot that's on the line. The occasion, the atmosphere, every aspect of it now is what's on the line from every delivery. Maybe, just maybe, with that required run rate, nipping back up to nearly 9 runs per over. Canada back in the ascendancy. Clever bowling from Dutta, just hiding it away from the hitting arc. And this time I think they're happy with the single because it means Leverock will keep the strike. 8 have been bowled. It's 45 for 1.
Again, that's a huge victory for Canada there. Big risk taken, bringing on Nikhil Dutta from the ocean end. And this worm shows the state of affairs. Canada got off to a great start in their power play, especially attacking Kamal Leverock for 20 off of his 2 overs when they chose to bat first. By comparison, Canada, who were 27 for none after 4 and 16 for none after 3. Bermuda was 4 for 1 after 3, 18 for 1 after 4. They've really struggled to make up the deficit that they got themselves into early on. And some clouds are hovering over the ground. I don't think we're going to get rain here, but again, it's looking a little bit bleak. And Pargat Singh, somebody we've rarely seen bowl in this tournament, he's being given the ball. Sadman Zafar takes himself out of the attack.
He hasn't bowled yet, Peter. This is his first bowl in the tournament. What a call this is. On the Duckworth-Lewis-Stern equation, were we to end at the end of this over, Bermuda would need to be at 58. So they would need a really big over off the part-time off breaks of Pargat Singh. He does have a couple of first-class and List A wickets to his name in his native India, where he did play some Ranji Trophy and Vijay Hazare Trophy cricket there, but he's been used very sparingly in international cricket, just the 2 T20I wickets to his name. Big call, this one. And he's clearly going to try dig it into the wicket too. Frey again can't find the boundary.
Yeah, first time bowling in this tournament, and only the 4th time he's bowled for Canada. This is his 12th T20I for Canada, and he's only bowled on 4 occasions, just 6 overs in T20I cricket for Canada before today. 2 wickets and 67 runs conceded. And the other question mark, Jeremy Gordon, we haven't seen him bowl yet. But when he has bowled, we've seen him get into difficulty. Pace on the ball has been where a lot of runs were scored. We saw Kamal Leverock, his overs today, he conceded overs. So this is a day where if you're Jeremy Gordon, you might have to swallow a thanks for coming, Lenny. Just take your spot in the field and be grateful if the spinners do the job for Canada.
Well, right now, Bermuda are getting themselves into a muddle. The required run rate is as high as it's been throughout the contest, 9.11 per over now. Again, I just go back to that holding back of Rawlins. Or maybe, as you said, Peter, rather than Terran Frey, could it have been Alan Douglas Jr. or Dominic Sabir? Frey, he may have hit a maximum, but he's battling on 22. Needs to find a way to score. He can't, but this is going to be runs that may well be extras. We'll wait for the signal, and it's going to go into the rope. 4 byes is the decision that's given. A kick of the turf in frustration from Srimantha Wijeratne. They haven't come off the bat, but for now, Bermuda won't mind how they've come. The 50 comes up in the 9th over.
Yeah, clearly over the top this time, so wouldn't be given wides, but 4 runs, the wind helping it on its way all the way to the rope.
Yeah, definitely given his byes, that 4. We'll get that corrected. Currently given his runs on our scorecard. And the dot ball will close out a 7-run over. Only 3 came off the bat, remarkably. So the gamble maybe has paid off for Canada. Pargat Singh could bowl again. 9 have been bowled, 52 for 1. And Bermuda, they really need to get going, particularly in these remaining even-numbered overs that they have. 5 of them remain. And there is a classic relic from the past. Maybe if that lady in green would just move, we'll see it in its glory. That's the Canada 1999 Cricket World Cup shirt that gentleman is sporting there. That is a beauty.
Canada, Lenny?
Okay, Scotland. God, I've misspoke out loud. Apologies. Scotland, 1999 World Cup shirt with the Saltire on it. Thank you, Peter.
It is
You'll forgive me for your Hawaii moment.
one of
earlier.
a kind.
Beauty, isn't it? That under the Saltire. Iconic kits.
Bringing back memories of Gavin Hamilton.
Yeah, legendary. Craig Wright. Okay, here comes Dutta. This goes a long way into the sky. Back towards the bowler, and despite the shout of drop it from the crowd, Nikhil Dutta has not done that. This tactic of Canada bowling firmly into the wicket with their spinners has taken any rhythm out of Bermuda's batting, and even Leverock, who's probably in player of the tournament contention, he now has been dismissed. Gone for an even 23 off 23, and the game swings even further towards Canada now.
Well, since he ended the fourth over with 6-4, Lenny, in the next 5 overs, Kamau Leverock only was on strike for 8 balls. And the lack of rhythm that he was able to establish as a consequence of being off strike, Terran Frey chewing up so many dot balls, really deprived Kamau Leverock of the rhythm he needed to keep firing away. And that shot was a frustration shot. He was pent up. He was being tied down at the non-strikers end. He wasn't really being tied down by the bowlers, Lenny. He was being tied down at the non-strikers end because his partner couldn't get him on strike. And that's what happens. You see a shot like that from a guy who's frustrated. He's not been able to attack. He goes to attack a ball that's not there to hit. And he gets himself out. You got to give credit to Canada for the plans they've had to frustrate Leverock, to frustrate Bermuda in general. And now Delray Rollins, Bermuda's chance at a maiden World Cup berth in the T20 World Cup, at least, is sitting in the hands of their captain.
It very much feels now for Bermuda, it's Rollins or bust. And that required run rate continues to spiral, close to out of control right now.
So close to chopping onto a stump's first ball.
Rollins will get off the mark with a quick single. What does Terran Frey have to do now? He's got 22 off 29 currently, Peter.
Well, you got to hit out or get out. He cannot just keep chewing up dot balls. Since that 6, he scored 2 runs off of 13 deliveries. And that's simply not good enough.
Now he looks for some innovation. Can't really make any contact. Will get a single. An eerie hush is hanging over the ground after every delivery, before every delivery even, and some rather dark-looking clouds are now appearing across to our left. I'm going to try and keep you posted with the Duckworth-Lewis-Stern equation at the end of each over. I know that certainly Canada are ahead. Dutta none too pleased with that one given as a wide. At the end of the 10th, Bermuda would need to be 67, so they're currently 12 runs behind. There's a good day for kite flying. Let's hope those dark clouds aren't going to rain down upon us. Just no rhythm or timing. Has this wicket got trickier, or what's going on out there, Peter?
I think Canada just had a chance to observe where to bowl. When they saw Bermuda in the field, Canada got the benefit of seeing who's most effective on this track in terms of what length to bowl.
Top edge is going to go towards Aaron Johnson, who holds on. Is that the match? Do Canada have one foot onto the plane towards the West Indies and the USA next year for what would be a maiden T20 World Cup? Rollins is gone. And Bermuda, well, they're left with it all to do with their captain caught short for just one.
This is one of his favorite shots. Delray Rollins is such an outstanding player this sweep. This is his bread and butter. But Akil Dutta just dragged the line wider. It made it so much harder to sweep this based on the line. You could argue the length was maybe there for the shot, but as wide as this one was outside the stumps, you've got an awful long way to drag that to the leg side. That was on an 8th or 9th stump line, and top edge is the result. Aaron Johnson, very alert, jogging back from slip, and Ross Michael, he's struggling to find moments to capture for the home fans and for the Royal Gazette today. That'll make the front page, make the sports page.
Yeah, you just missed that ball live. Dot ball as Sabin Safar comes back into the attack, replacing Pargat Singh. That's down the leg side and not given as a wide because Frey's come so far across his stumps. We'll just get that rack colour balance corrected for you as well. Those clouds have caused a little bit of consternation for our camera team. Get it brightened up for you. It has got darker as Frey gets this towards the deep, but it'll just be a single as Nicholas Curtin does the fielding. That equation, well, it's looking ever more daunting, Peter.
Fans aren't giving up just yet. You can hear the chants of, "Come on, Dougie."
Well, Alan Douglas Jr. certainly capable. But again, they're running between the wickets, Peter. Surely they have to take on two there. Is that a little bit of a leg injury that Douglas Jr. might have done earlier in the day coming to haunt him?
Possibly, but conversely, again, Canada just dogged, fighting for every run.
That's gone up into the sky. Has he got enough of it? Yes, he has. A much-needed boundary. It's a maximum to Bermuda. And the fans are starting to get pumped up. They need to come into this contest. They need to get on top of Canada. This game is not done yet. But Bermuda, they need the runs and they need them quickly.
Frey doing what he can. Of Sadman Zafar there, just shuffling around his crease.
This one we think is gone. Could well be a leg side stumping. We're going to try and get a look at the replay. You won't have seen it live. But Frey again, he's coming across his stumps, trying to target that favoured leg side. He's got to 30, he'll get no more. Jacqueline Williams, the finger went up quickly. This is what happened.
Done this a number of times throughout the innings, and he's just dragged his foot out. You can see it. You don't even need a side on replay there. You can see the back foot clearly leaving as he's just trying to tuck this for one. Overbalances, that back foot comes out, and the bails are off right about now. He's not even close, and he doesn't even bother trying to put his bat back down. Straightforward dismissal for Terran Frey, who is not going to remember this day too fondly. Bermuda needs somebody to step up here. Dominic Sabir was so good with the ball. Can he do it with the bat? He's had few opportunities in his career to bat, but when he has, he's shown plenty of promise. "35 runs in his young career. This is his 14th match, but only his 7th innings, and he's usually only come in with a handful of deliveries to go. He's only faced 34 deliveries in his T20I career. If he lasts to the end here, he might face 34 balls just on his own today.
Now is not the time for Bermuda to wonder what could have been. The equation is simple. There's 7 overs remaining. They need 70 runs to go to a first ever T20 World Cup. It's 10 and over exactly. We're hoping that that rain is going to hold off. If it doesn't, because of the 4th wicket having fallen, at the end of the 12th over, they would need to be at 84. So they're 19 behind on Duckworth Lewis. Always a good indicator of the state of play in the game as Dutta really gets away with that one. It was a long hop, and Douglas Jr. more than a little bit of bat on it. It's a dot ball. Big swing and a miss. That one's going to angle down. These 2 overs, now 2.5 overs from Dutta from the far end of the ground. They've only gone for 9. Just not enough for Bemuda. That's more like it. Douglas Jr. gets it out of the screws. I was just about to say the wind seems to have died down, Peter, and died in a big way. So that shot in the first innings that could well have been a catching opportunity has the momentum to carry for 6.
And he also kept it quite flat. This is the way to take on the wind. If you hit it flat instead of getting it high up in the air, you've got a much better chance to clear the man on the boundary. Pargat Singh was cheating in a little bit, but that still cleared him by a good 5 yards. And now Dutta switches angles.
Comes around the wicket now. I think if that had been left alone, it would have been a wide, but Douglas, he was already in the heart of his shot, and he just couldn't restrain himself. What's the mood in the crowd right now? Look at all the replica jerseys.
You can see some of them putting their hands in the air, saying, come on. What are you doing? Hurry up.
Well, they need 10 and over. They've got 9. So that run rate required will just rise again. With 12 overs bowled, Bemuda 72 for 4. This match, it hangs in the balance. Or are we in for a classic finish?
Well, I said before the start of the chase, they need to target the even overs. Canada scored 92 off their 9 overs batting from the Aquatics end. And you look at the Manhattan here, you got to divide the overs up between the even overs and odd overs. The even overs batting from the Aquatics end, hitting towards the ocean. That's where you got to target your biggest scoring opportunities. So far in the 6 overs they've batted from the Aquatics end, they've only scored 38 runs. You need to score at least 10 and over from that end. They're only going at just over 6 and over from that end. As Saad bin Zafar has got the ball in hand, he's going to bowl his 3rd over, the captain for Canada. So they've scored 38 runs with the wind at their back.
Big swing and an inside edge, only a feather of an inside edge. Does it have the momentum to get down the hill to the rope? Not quite. They should be thinking of a 3rd, but Dominic Sabir doesn't even attempt it. 2 runs to the total.
Just past leg stump. And what really should have been a straightforward 2 winds up settling for, what should have been possibly 3. They settle for 2. So yeah, 38 runs hitting with the wind, 34 runs hitting into the wind. They just have not capitalized. Canada had a 2-to-1 ratio. It was more like 2.5-to-1 hitting with the wind. For Bermuda, the ratio is more like 1.2-to-1. They just have not scored nearly enough runs hitting with the wind, especially against Nikhil Dutta.
Douglas Jr. just has that X factor though, doesn't he? And every boundary that he's hitting, well, it's echoing around this National Sports Campus. Is he the man to stand up when Bermuda need him the most?
This is what they needed at number 3.
Tries to repeat the dose, gets it all! It's 10 and over needed, that one. Well, it's out onto Frog Lane again. And the crowd are coming into the game in a big way. How quickly a T20 can turn in the course of just 2 balls like that. Douglas Jr. goes bang, bang.
Hit it onto Frog Lane. This jumped off of his bat like a frog.
Well, this game here, Peter, I tell you, if you don't love the associate game, I just don't understand how you can't. It gives us more drama, more special moments than any other version of the sport, in my opinion. These are predominantly amateur cricketers playing out for their dreams. In the case of Bermuda, they've got 65,000 dreams riding upon them. And right now, it's riding upon the bat of Alan Douglas Jr. They just back into the contest in a big way with those two boundaries. Big appeal, full and quite straight, but umpire Vijay Mallela, he's unmoved. He says, not out.
Well, live, I thought this was outside Odegaard hitting down leg. Doubt is where that pitch. We're not directly behind the bowler. That was going to hit the stumps. The only doubt was whether it pitched in line with the stumps or not. We don't have it directly behind the bowler's arm view, though.
This time he's happy to watch one out. They need about 10 and over. They've got 12 from it. Should Alan Douglas be back in the hutch?
Again, that to me looks like it might be fractionally outside leg. Again, we don't have a direct angle. Lenny's making crazy signals at me.
It's pitched about middle and off, Peter. It's nowhere near outside leg.
Lenny, we don't have an optimal
I'd agree
replay.
that we don't have the perfect angle because of all the storm problems we've had. But I'll tell you one thing. I think Canada were convinced, and I think it's a case of the boy who cried wolf. Sharmanta Wijeratne has made 80, 100 appeals throughout this contest and throughout this competition. And the one time he needed it most, well, he's gone up one time too many for the umpires, and that's given not out. How big is that moment going to be?
Well, you can't call it hometown umpiring because you've got an umpire from Jamaica and an umpire from the USA out in the middle. Vijay Malella out of North Carolina with that decision there. And it's Matthew Fullerton on the right. Fully. Local personality here. He's on the balcony of the pavilion.
Heard his dulcet tones earlier in the tournament. He's been doing a great job on the PA mic as well, rallying those home troops. Okay, the equation, well, it's simple again. 49 runs to win.
Well, Jeremy Gordon's not going to get a thanks for coming. They are going to take the risk. This is where Kamal Leverock got so much punishment. He went for 50 off 4 overs, bowling 3 of the 4 overs from this end. Pace bowlers have not been successful, but the wind conditions have died down. So this is a time where Sadman Zuffer feels like it's worth the risk.
I'll have to say I'm surprised by this call. Gordon comes in for his first over in the 14th. He's proven very expensive so far this competition. The crowd want two, so too does Alan Douglas, but Dominic Sabir has almost walked the one to spark, well, almost mass outcry.
The only justification I can think of there is, Lenny, maybe he feels like Alan Douglas Jr. is in rhythm and he feels like he's not as comfortable facing the pace of Jeremy Gordon, who's the fastest bowler in this tournament, but it's a curious way of going about demonstrating that strategy, Lenny.
Well, if the margin of victory is 10 runs or less, we know where this contest will have been won and lost. Douglas Jr. goes down the ground towards mid-off, who takes an unbelievable catch, leaping through the air. It's Dylan Haylegger, one big fast bowler off the other. And now that second that was turned down looks all the more costly. The gamble of bowling Gordon, his first over. And Douglas, well, he is furious as he trudges off. But this wicket is all down to one man, and that's Dylan Haylegger. What a catch.
Well, if you thought the crowd was upset at that second run not being taken, Lenny, and the groans and hisses you heard at not taking the second to keep Sabir on strike, that's nothing compared to the frustration and disappointment seeing the next ball turn into a wicket. And again, it's the little things that have made such a big difference in this game. Canada's running between the wickets, head and shoulders above Bermuda today, and it cost them a wicket here for the home side. Length ball. He tries to muscle it down the ground, and Dylan Haylegger puts on the red Superman cape, diving through the air to pouch that one, and you can see Douglas venting his spleen at Dominic Sabir.
Well, as if it couldn't get any more dramatic, we now have rain coming around the outfield, and you can feel it. I will give you the ball-by-ball Duckworth-Lewis update. After 13.25 down, Bermuda need to be 94. They're 85. They are 9 behind. We spoke about the small margins. We repeatedly talked about them in the first innings. Canada running every run they could. Zico Burgess, the new man to the crease. And every dot ball is going to be costly now. Burgess played a good cameo in the win over Panama, where Bermuda very nearly got themselves into a tangle. Surely we have to finish this game naturally, Peter, but that rain and the dark clouds to our left, they are threatening.
So only got 25 runs in his career, but 19 of them came just a few days ago. Lenny.
What a move from Saad bin Safar to turn to Jeremy Gordon. Remember, needing 10 and over. If you have one bad over like this one, that required run rate will just spiral.
It's been quite shocking to see how badly Bermuda has struggled batting with the conditions in their favor from this end. They just have not utilized them at all. If you can believe it, Canada scored at a better than 2-to-1 ratio batting from this aquatics end. Bermuda actually has more runs scored batting in tougher conditions from the ocean end, from the Devonshire Rec end of the ground. And that just tells you how well Canada have bowled and how poorly Bermuda have utilized the conditions.
Will be a single, but a single right now not enough. Bermuda now 14 behind on DLS. That shows what a mountain they have. Best part of 12 runs per over. 47 to win off 4. Bermuda, well, they need to pull a rabbit out of the hat from here.
And again, Canada scored 92 off their 9 overs batting from the aquatics end. Through 7 overs batting from the aquatics end, Bermuda has scored just 40 runs, and yet they've got 46 batting from the Devonshire Rec and the ocean end, hitting into the wind. And you can see the worm, Bermuda's still behind, as Kaleem Sana, who has yet to concede a run off the bat today, Lenny. We wondered, was it a mistake? Was it a gamble? Not bowling him out 4 straight to just heap even more scoreboard pressure on? Well, that decision looks awfully wise now, because he's coming back bowling from his preferred end today, yet to concede a run, and with the required run rate now just a shade under 12 per over. A Himalayan task on their hands to try and chase down this target.
Yeah, and the reason it's Himalayan, it's not just the required run rate of 11.75, Peter. It's the fact that Kaleem Sana is to bowl 2 of those 4 overs. And there's 2 new men at the crease, both on 1.
And there's rain coming down now. The rain is definitely coming down. I'm not sure if you can see it on the cameras, but I can see it with the naked eye. There's rain definitely coming down, and Bermuda well behind on Duckworth-Lewis.
Remember, we don't have any time left to utilize. That's already all been used up. If we go off, I suspect that will be it. Here comes Sana. Burgess gets an inside edge, and look at the backing up from Dominic Sabir. After the ball is being delivered, both his legs and his bat still in the crease. He has to back up more than that. Every run you need right now.
The basics, the 1%ers, Lenny. Canada has excelled at them today. Bermuda simply has not been good enough.
Definite rain now coming on to our tent that's covering us over. It's going to come over the wicket, interestingly. Burgess opens up his stance dramatically as a consequence. Just keep your eyes on Dominic Sabir backing up here. You obviously don't want to be out of your ground, but he's going nowhere. He's actually still in the crease at the point of contact. And that is not how you coach any young cricketer to back up.
It's almost like he's waiting for a baton relay, Lenny. He's reaching out. He's reaching backwards, waiting for the baton to be handed off. Lenny, the athletics track is about 100 yards behind us. Cricket pitch is over here.
Yeah, basics not being implemented by Bermuda. Sana has finally conceded a run off the bat. But this is all too little too late, and the game is not just drifting away. It is drifting away rapidly from Bermuda. They've promised so much in this tournament, this grand final defeat. It's going to consign them to heartbreak, and our Canada very nearly booking their tickets to the USA and West Indies. The end of this over, they need to be 107, Peter, on DLS for the par. Looks for the scoop, finds a feather of an outside edge, the finger goes up and Kaleem Sana strikes. Extends his lead at the top of the table. The tournament's leading wicket taker does it again. And Sabir's innings, which, well, never got going, has gone for one. Dismay, despair, disillusion now in the crowd.
It's an awful lot of candidates for player of the match today. Kaleem Sana is throwing his name into the hat with this spell, just heaping loads of pressure on, dot ball pressure, forcing Sabir to do something he's clearly not comfortable with, trying to play a reverse scoop, and just feathers an edge through to Vijay Ratne. The first wicket today, but if he keeps this spell up, you've got Nikhil Dutta with an incredible 2 overs, getting the whale and the shark, Kamel Evrock and Delbert Rollins in the same over. You've got Nicholas Curtin with his flourish to end the first innings. 26 not out off 10 balls. So many little golden nuggets in this match for Canada that they're cashing in right now in a big way, on the verge of going to the T20 World Cup for the first time.
Yeah, right now, really, Canada, all they need to do is hold their nerve, and for Bermuda, they need a miracle. They need somebody to be a hero. Charles Trott has really not done much in the competition so far, not really been needed to do much either. Can the left-hander find something, find a wild card, find a joker in the pack? The required run rate, the best part of 14 now. Canada just need to close it out. Every dot ball is a hammer blow to Bermuda's hopes.
Well, if he's not the player of the match, he might be locking up player of the tournament with this spell today. This is just extraordinary from Kaleem Sana. Been so consistent throughout the tournament. And when Canada needs him most, he stepped up in a huge way today.
Thuds into the pad. Has he got another? Not quite, says Vijay Mallela, maybe just angling down. Bowled with fire and pace and aggression. You can see the team has just got that DLS par score up now. That was 108 right now. This ball, they're behind by 21. At the end of the 16th over, it will jump again. I think we're going to be able to get completed, but with 15 runs per over required, Zico Burgess, particularly from these 2 overs, 16 and 18, is going to need to do something miraculous. Be the big fast bowler to continue. Here comes Jeremy Gordon for his second. Burgess will certainly swing and swing hard, but can't find any rhythm or any timing yet. At least he's looking for the second, maybe the first Bermuda batter to do so.
Again, for those of you just joining us and you're wondering why the required run rate is so high, it's because it's an 18-over chase. This match was reduced to 18 overs from the start. We had an hour delayed start due to An incredible amount of rain that came through Bermuda, courtesy of Tropical Storm Philippe. Incredible drainage facilities here at the National Sports Center allowed a match of any kind to be played.
Guided away for a single, not enough. But at least Burgess is back on strike. He does have those levers. Can he pull off something extraordinary? He's going to need to target these 10 balls from this end of the ground.
I've got to go back to the decision of the toss, too. I think choosing a bat first might have raised some eyebrows for people watching from afar, but what it meant was that Canada got a chance to see how to bowl on this pitch. Bermuda really struggled to figure out the right combination.
This is skewed away. Is this the final nail in the coffin? Well, yes it is, in my opinion. Burgess is gone now too. Maybe the last hope. Gordon, who's had a tough tournament, well, hasn't he answered his captain's call in a big way? 2 critical overs, 14 and 16, that extra pace, that extra bounce. And it's all been too much for Bermuda, who are going to be left thinking at what could have been.
And again, Bermuda really struggled in the field to figure out the right bowling approach. Whereas Canada got a chance to see how Bermuda bowled, back of the length, just like that delivery from Jeremy Gordon. That's been the key today. Early on, Bermuda was just much too full, and they got punished for it. You saw early on, Lenny, their pace bowlers were trying to go Yorker. They were searching for Yorkers early on in the innings. And anytime they made a mistake full, they got punished for it, whereas Canada, throughout the entire chase, has consistently bowled back of the length. And it's because they got to see where Bermuda was going wrong in the first innings with the ball. They made the adjustments when it was their turn to come out in field. And Canada has kept this Bermuda lineup tied down with just clever tactics, back of the length bowling for the most part. And that's been the difference between the two sides.
Derek Brangman gets one up into the sky. I don't think he's going to have enough of it. 2 fielders converge as a collision. But somehow the catch is held. Let's hope there's no damage done to Dylan Hayliger either. It's 2 wickets and 2, an extraordinary catch. I think it's held by Navneet Dhaliwal. Let's hope that the big man is okay.
Well, there was no communication there. I thought this could have been catastrophic. They looked like they were potentially going to butt heads if they both went to dive for this. Dhaliwal always had the better angle to the ball. It's so much easier running in for a chance like this than it is running out. I'm not sure why Dylan Hayliger didn't pull out unless there was really no communication. We didn't hear anything. We're on the opposite side of the ground. There was no call here. This is such a difficult chance for Hayliger. It was so much easier for Dhaliwal running in. And thank God that Navneet Dhaliwal stayed upright. If he had tried to dive forward for this, they both would have butted heads. And that could have been utterly catastrophic. Instead, thankfully, it's just a glancing blow for Dylan Hayliger, kind of brushing into the hip of Navneet Dhaliwal. And Dhaliwal, in addition to avoiding the brunt of the collision, actually holds on as well. So it's going to mean a hat-trick ball coming up for Jeremy Gordon.
We've had plenty of chances at the hat-trick. We're yet to have one in the competition, and Canada have never got one in their T20I history. Chance for Gordon to stick his name into the hat for the player of the match contention too. Only bowling these 2 overs thus far, but how impactful have they been? They've turned the game on its head with that dismissal of Alan Douglas. The score a few moments ago was 84 for 4 after 13, and now it's 89 for 8. A collapse of catastrophic proportions for Bermuda. Here comes a hat-trick ball. Sinclair Smith on strike. For Bermuda, it's all gone horribly wrong. How, having dominated maybe 15 of the first 20 overs or 18 overs of this contest, how have they lost this match, Peter?
Well, their tactics. They bowled poorly from one end of the ground. And the running between the wickets has been so huge. Canada probably got themselves at least 10 to 15 runs just turning ones into twos.
almost a ducking hook shot from Trott. A bit of self-preservation involved in that stroke. Gordon is fast and furious. He's got 3 for 6 from his 2 overs. And it's a, well, almost unimaginable 42 required from 12 balls at least. We're going to get to a natural conclusion. That rain is held off. And after a stormy couple of days on this island, there's going to be some serious regrets amongst the Bermudian fans and indeed in that Bermudian camp, Peter.
Canada ran 9 2s or 3s. That 3 was as a result of a misfield and then an overthrow. They essentially ran 9 2s and 1 3, and that 3 was really a single that turned into 2 and then 3 through sheer effort from Canada. By comparison, I'm going to tally it up now. Bermuda
continues to excel, nailing the Yorker.
Bermuda has only run 3 2s the entire innings. So Canada, they got themselves arguably a 7-run bonus just by running hard between the wickets. Bermuda was a bit slow in the field. Canada has been pouncing like tigers on everything to prevent as many 2s as they possibly can. And Bermuda hasn't even really tried to push for 2s. We saw how Alan Douglas Jr. fell.
Bowled him, and Sana's got another. Sensational, simply sublime, Kaleem Sana. Oh, we talked up Kamau Leverock's chances of getting out onto the franchise circuit after this week. Add Kaleem Sana to this list. He has never been as good in the red of Canada, and him, and almost him alone, almost single-handedly responsible for the defence of this chase. Look at those figures. 20 deliveries, gone for just 3 runs, and picked up 2 wickets alongside it.
You'd be hard-pressed to give the Player of the Match award to somebody else besides Nicholas Curtin after the way he ended the first innings, but Kaleem Sana is doing everything he can to force his way onto the presentation stage with you, Andrew Leonard. This has been just a sparkling spell of left-arm pace. And now he's put Canada 1 wicket away from their first ever berth in the T20 World Cup. They've been to the World Cup, the 50th World Cup, so many times, especially through the John Davison era in the mid-2000s. And then again, the last time Canada went to the 50th World Cup in 2011. As you can see, fans starting to head for the exit gates.
Well, Sana, you wouldn't begrudge him a 15th wicket in the series. He's got 14 to his name. He has been different class with the ball, Peter.
He could be player of the match. He most likely will be player of the tournament. A difference maker for Canada. Left arm variety of any kind, pace or spin, has been so valuable on the T20 circuits around the world. And Sana highlighting that left arm pace value today.
Looks for the bouncer, will be given as a wide down the leg side. Peter, if the winning margin ends up being something like 30, 35 runs, something like that, probably doesn't paint the full picture of the match, does it? It felt an awful lot closer than that.
No, through 17 overs, Bermuda were very content with how things were in the first innings. And then Nicholas Curtin, that final over in this rain-reduced match to 18 overs, 18th over, 20 runs, 19 off the bat of Curtin, including 2 sixes against Bongi Leverock. And that just changed the entire atmosphere at this ground.
Remarkable that Canada pulled this out of the fire. How much of that defeat do you put down to that burst they got from Curtin and Hayliger at the end as well with the bat?
It's significant, but again, the tactics for Canada overall were better than the tactics for Bermuda. We questioned it at the time. Why did they not bring Alan Douglas higher up the order? Alan Douglas Jr. had been a lot more positive throughout the tournament. Terran Frey had struggled mightily throughout the tournament.
Thuds into the pad. What a way to end it. And rather fittingly, it's Kaleem Sana with 15 wickets to his name, 3 clear of anyone else. That's in just 5 T20 eyes. He's been almost perfect in this spell, immaculate if you will. 3.5 overs. 3 for 4 he's going to finish with. And Canada have sealed their spot at the ICC Men's T20 World Cup next year in the West Indies and the USA. They'll be the America's representative, dashing Bermuda's hopes here on the grandest of America's stages. Canada winning by 39 runs.
Congratulations to head coach Bemuda Dasanayak, captain Sadman Zafar, the entire Canada squad. They created history here. They're